It's been a bit since we've done this.
I know. It's been since the last time
I kind of like it.
Yeah, it's kind of nice because, like you said, when somebody's going to want to say something.
Yeah. This is the only way we do it.
Oh, because you guys usually have your stands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like the stands is just more of like, I don't know, makes us look cool.
Yeah.
That my arm doesn't get tired. You guys, how's your podcast going?
I don't know what to determine good for. I don't know what's good or bad about it.
I mean, are you guys enjoying it?
I mean, it's just like creating content from all the other ways that we create content. So no good or bad. It has been useful from a sense of getting into specific topics that we get to use as like a reserve library. Now when people are coming in for like normally asked questions, it's like a link. Oh, you can either like watch the podcast or read about or go to the YouTube.
That's cool.
So it's nice to have that library there because other times it's in the past, if you just have one medium, like go read this or did you see the email? They're like, I did not read that. You're like, well, did you listen? And they're like, yes, or vice versa. So it's been nice because we've had, especially with moving in here, there's been some on brand things that have been nice to like send out along the way. Or when people have questions, they're like, oh, you should listen to this podcast. That's going to give you a better idea of like who we are and what we're doing. That's a little bit more in depth than a 2-minute conversation.
Yeah, we just like link them to the emails.
Yeah. We don't use it that way. I've used it our podcast a lot for just our like my personal content a lot, where I try and show obviously a lot of just running Try It and Define Nutrition and just a little bit more about my life. It is quite a bit easier to pull. This was actually Thomas's idea, but just pull some clips from the podcast and just throw those up as content. And I feel like it's a little bit more genuine because it's kind of just part of a conversation. It's not a like super well thought out, super long caption with a staged photo, which like I still do some of those sometimes. And I think they have a lot of meaning, but it is really nice to kind of get just a little bit more like anecdotal stuff to put up.
Okay, but how do you find those small clips? Because I've been trying to do this and I'm like, dang it, Sean, you talked for 45 minutes. and now I'm trying to find this like 30 seconds of pieces. Do you go through that?
Yeah. So when we first started, we both are, I know Thomas did at least the first episode or two. I know I did for a while. I would re-listen to our episodes. I am not going to lie, I got pretty tired of that because it's listening to a conversation you've already had. I'll listen to a conversation somebody else has had all day long, but one I've already had it gets a little monotonous. I
just sit there and I go, good point, Thomas. I completely agree.
I think I realized, the moment when I stopped doing that was I was like, yeah, you said something and it made me think of something, and then I said it on the episode. And I'm like, I need to not.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. We've gotten to the point where we just kind of like make little mental notes, or I go back through on Spotify and it gives you kind of like an auto like breakdown on like chapters of the podcast, and it jogs my memory enough on what the episode is about, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, that was a really, really cool point, or like that was a really funny moment or something like that, and then I'll kind of scrub back through to find that, and then we pull from there. And
there's
now it
definitely some scrubbing though sometimes, and just like going back and listening through parts of the episode to try to jog your memory on something.
I got to ask him sometimes on like, hey, like, do you remember anything from that episode that you think would be really good? So
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what we've done. Spotify's been big.
Dig a little harder. Our like first episode we posted, somebody had listened and they were like, hey, at minute 35, there's no audio. And I was like, oh, I'll let our editor know. Fired.
We run into that a lot too. Yeah, I think our last episode we lost video halfway through, and it is what it is.
So hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, it's fun.
Well, we'll give a little introduction on you guys. We obviously you guys are, just so you know, you guys are the first people to come back to an episode of the podcast. You're the first
repeats.
There we go.
First repeats on the podcast.
Nice.
If you guys didn't watch the first episode with Sean and Dani, they're from Prevail, good friends of ours, have worked with you guys for a long time, known you guys since we were first getting going and doing sample tables at Red Rock, and you guys are teaching classes back there, and we've both come a long way, and we're sitting currently in your second location in the middle of buildout, and it's exciting. It's getting to walk into an environment where like things are kind of coming together. I know you guys have probably had some late nights and some really long days and put a lot of work into this, but I know, and obviously you guys know from doing your first location, but it's still just as fun. At least in my opinion, I always have just as much fun and work just as hard, if not a little harder on new locations. So walk us through what's the new location been like so far? How's the build out been?
Oh, how has it been? Well,
I'll say we both kind of thrive in chaos a little bit. So this is kind of our groove.
Yeah,
like you work a little harder.
Yeah, this unprepared gray area of like daily like just violence and attacking is definitely our zone.
Right.
So we don't feel uncomfortable or at all in that kind of like world of like everything is a mess and just keep driving, keep pushing. So it's nice to get back to that also because kind of built location 1 up to, I hate the word maintenance, but kind of like not an autopilot, but where there's other people that are leveraging the unique things about Prevail and themselves and like not as much of us leveraging us anymore. Location 2 has kind of like brought us back in the day, like 16, 17, when it was just us two cranking, and like we're back to just us two cranking again, which is a nice revisit to be like, oh yeah, okay, like flip the switch and it's go time, dig in, keep working.
Yeah.
Work hard.
Yeah.
Has it been refreshing to get back to that, or has it been like we want to try and avoid this moving forward?
I think it's just a necessary means.
Yeah.
Like we understand the because you guys know this too, but when you're like getting the next location going and the next big project, it's such an investment and energy and time at the get-go that like reflects long term. It's not like you put 10% at the beginning and then you just keep putting 10 and 10 and 10 and 10 indefinitely. You come in at 150% to get it off, it's like a launch pad of a spaceship, right? You have to like build everything around it and then you have to hit go and then it's launch. But to build everything around it is a considerable amount of work.
Well, and it's like one of those things is something, obviously with us doing build out on store 4 right now, where it is like, it's such a balance that's difficult, I think, mentally, where you're doing so much that you have to fight that. I know for me personally, you have to fight that like, yeah, it looks good. But you don't want it to look good because this is what it's going to look like forever. Yeah. So it is the spend the extra $12 to get the finishing rollers at Lowe's for the paint as opposed to just the regular cheap rollers, because this is what the paint job is going to look like forever. And in 3 years, you're going to be staring at that damn corner that you didn't get the ladder for and you didn't fix it. And you're just like, I wish I just would have done it in that time, but I was tired or whatever. And so it is a funny time of like battling that mentally where you're just doing so much, but you also have to keep the perfectionist like in you as well. Yeah. Cause you're just going to be any imperfection, you're just going to stare at forever and hate it.
Yeah. To go fast and slow at the exact same time.
Yeah, exactly.
It's tough.
It's
really tough. The racks in the back, there was a moment where we had, you can see the silver plates on them now, but the silver plates are actually, there's another one on the ground over there. They're actually on the backside and you can see rep
see it right there.
cut out in the metal.
It's huge.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So we saw that and I was like, I do not
like
love that look at all of like repeated, nothing against rep, but like that's not our brand. I don't want their brand over everything when we're trying to represent our brand.
Right.
And we're like, before we put these on the wall, we need to make a decision. Because we're like, we need to get this going. We need to get them up. We need to get these things built. And we're like, well, do we really want this rep and this silver plate behind forever? Because once these are up there, they're not coming back down. Right. And it's like, no, before we put them up there, let's take them off. And then it was like, okay, do we want to put the silver plate on that outside? Or do we want to put nothing on there? Do you want it to be bolted down? Or do you want to put sticky on it? Or do you want it to be like glued on later on? Because whatever we do now,
that's
it's done.
We're not coming back to it.
It's done.
There was a moment. Yeah.
It's tough to make those decisions when you're like also like standing around 1,000 other things that need to be done. And you're like, I have to give all my focus to this for just a little bit.
Yeah.
But then we got to do it as quickly as possible and move on.
Yeah. I will say maybe a slightly grumpy 6-month pregnant woman yesterday in the rain went to Home Depot to find different screws.
That is probably something we should touch on as well. That you guys are, so this is definitely a unique thing. You guys are doing it while you guys are pregnant. We are
You as well.
we are in a little bit different boat. So we have done I know exactly what you guys are talking about. I've got a funny, quick story I'll tell. When Alyssa and I do build out, we definitely get pretty frustrated at each other at times. But we've done it enough times now where, at least on Yukon, I remember talking to her. I brought this up in an episode when we were talking about counseling and therapy and all that. But we hit a moment when we were doing Yukon, especially because it was all condensed into, what was it, 2 weeks in a day?
Yeah,
we did
15 days.
15 days we did Yukon. However, we were in a lot more prime spot where a lot had been done. Like, it was concrete floors, white walls. Our walls were built already. We didn't have to do any demo or pulling out flooring or anything like that. But it was a lot to do in 15 days. And I remember, like, Alyssa was like, she would get frustrated at me and I would get frustrated at her. But anytime she would like snap at me or like get rude to me, it was like, I knew we were in the moment. And it was like, I just felt like Superman of like, you can't touch me right now. Like, you cannot offend me. And like anything she would pass my way, I would just be like, we're just getting it done. It doesn't matter. You know, it's not personal. And I remember the mistake that I made is I told her that kind of towards the end. I was like, I feel like you're able to say anything to me and it just doesn't bother me right now. And then there was a conversation a few months.
You got funny looking calves.
Yeah. I was like,
she's just mean about other stuff.
Nothing, yeah. No, it was like 2 or 3 months afterwards. And I think we were getting frustrated at each other about something. And she was like, I just wish you could be how we were during the Yukon store build out all the time. I'm like, that's unrealistic. You can't just be rude to me all the time and not expect consequences. So,
oh my gosh. I love it.
But we have never been pregnant and done a build out ourselves before. We are in a spot now where you guys are braver than we are, because with our Edmond store, we've known a lot of our build out is a lot of times in the middle of the night for us. Like, most of our flooring has gone in the middle of the night at most locations, if not all locations actually. And it was like, I don't think we can do that with a 1.5-year-old and a pregnant wife. So we hired a general contractor this time.
Nice.
And it's been a weird experience watching everything. Like, we got really, really lucky. We've got a general contractor that's been a customer with us pretty much since our first location opened. And he has just been like way better than I would have ever expected a general contractor to be. He's been awesome. Is doing literally everything for us, like even like installing the shelving and everything. You're welcome, Thomas.
Oh, heck yeah.
How many screws did you put in at Yukon?
We were talking about that. Yeah, I think the shelving for Yukon was like just shy, like maybe 20 screws shy of 1,000 screws.
I think we left you to do that on your own too.
You did, yeah. It was it was like 2:00 in the morning. Yeah, it was, because each shelf has 3 brackets. Each bracket has 8 screws. So it's, 24 screws per shelf. And we have 100 shelves.
It's not too late to tell Austin we want to do that ourselves.
Yeah, I'm good.
So be nice.
I'm thrilled you guys are pregnant with a 1.5-year-old right now. It's my favorite part.
But yeah, it was. I get people asking, hey, how's the new location coming? And I'm like, I get like picture and video updates like weekly, but like I went through a stretch where it was like 2 months I hadn't been up there. So it's been a really cool experience, but also kind of really weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, the only thing we've had to do is we decided to do the painting ourselves, which we did this past weekend, and we're done essentially until it almost does open. So
yeah,
that's awesome.
That comes with the obviously with the reps, with the locations. And I was thinking of that as we're in here doing we were just talking about like we're like a different type of sore. There's like being in shape, and then there's like manual labor in shape, and it's just a whole different series of everything, like hands. It's crazy because we'll do pull-ups and these super heavy carries, all these things in the studio, and you come over here and you turn a wrench for 4 hours and your hands are trashed.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I don't understand why they work so well in the other thing that they do, and now this thing, they're crap already.
You need to do more wrench pulls in your workout.
More wrench pulls.
Opened hundreds of boxes.
But just thinking about like laying out the mats and like cutting to this thing and doing this thing, everything is such a specific on the fly, and we love that so much. And I'm thinking as I'm rolling this out, and I'm thinking, man, location 3, do I really am I going to be the one doing this again? Like, and then I was thinking,
don't think about that now.
I know. And then I was thinking, well, geez, I have to make a system for this because I'm going to have to give this to someone else to do because I can't just be the person unrolling and cutting mats every time.
Right.
The fact that you guys have locations already though makes it really easy. Like that's honestly been one really nice thing about the contractor that we work with is we have locations. Andy is a customer. So like we really didn't have to create much of a system. He's like most things he needs is like, he's like, I'll just pop by one of the stores that I'm at. So
he's got a bunch of example.
Yeah.
Right, that's nice.
That is nice.
nice.
And he's been in the system.
Right.
Yeah.
It is funny though when you talk about like manual labor, like in shape or strength. I haven't thought about this in forever, but my great grandfather worked on like an assembly line where there were these big like concrete things that were used in construction or something, but essentially like a concrete circle that's like this big, like a big cylinder kind of thing. And he would just like, his job was to move them from this line over to this line, and he would just pick up 100-pound concrete things, and did it for like 60 years. You know what I mean? He like got the job when he was 18 and retired when he was 70, there. And it's like, I remember him before he died and he was like 95 and like could crush your hand, because it's just like, he never went to the gym, and it's just like, he's just lifting and moving like, 1,000 a day. And you're just like, that is something different, man. Like that is a different kind of strength.
Way different strength.
It is wild how different it is. Like you can prepare for like just about anything, but until you actually do it, it's just like we're having our patio extended in our backyard to cover kind of like some like muddy areas because Riley's a wild child and we just open the back door and she roams free. So there's some guys that have been out, and I'm buying the materials and I'm bringing like bags of concrete, and I'm like in a rush because like I want to make sure they get what they are, and it's like I work out and I I do my strength, I do my endurance, like I'm grabbing bags of concrete. This guy that has probably never worked out a day in his life is like throwing 2 bags, like picking them up by his hands and running them back, like passing me. He's like lapping me. I'm like, what the hell?
Dude. Yeah. It is really interesting though, just in general, how like some things translate and other things don't. Like certain kind of workouts, it's like we have people who are, that could, if I showed up to a Prevail class, even though, I run, I lift, I do jujitsu, I'd probably be smoked, and it's the same thing. Like we have people who show up to jujitsu class and they're like, I lift all the time, I run, I do sprints, I do all this. And it's like, okay, cool. Well, like, come try, like I burn 1,400 calories every hour and a half doing jujitsu. So like, come on out on the mat. And it's just like, it's weird how like endurance or things like that just don't always translate across like modalities as well as you think that they would. You think like if you do all of these things kind of separately, but no, it's just like there's something different about certain style things like that.
Yeah. We did like
and even if you didn't, like I was thinking about that being sore right now, and I was also thinking, well, wait, if I hadn't been doing anything before this, I would be trashed.
Yeah.
Like if I didn't have any baseline, this would be destroying me right now.
Yeah.
That is a really good point. So manual labor and being pregnant, what's that like?
It's been fine so far.
Yeah.
I
Your baseline is obviously a little different.
It's lower. It's lower.
No.
Like my energy.
No, your pre-pregnancy baseline for work output.
Oh yeah,
You know
it
what I'm
was
saying?
like
You're coming from someone who's done
through the roof. Like I just had energy for
multiple
days.
100 endurance events. Can still do a 70-pound get up like last week.
So you're just a normal person now.
Yeah.
That's what he keeps saying. You're just normal now. Yeah, because about like 8:39 every night, I'm like, okay.
Are you still working
I
out?
need to go to bed. Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alyssa was getting too lightheaded during her pregnancy that she had
dang.
to. Yeah.
Oh, no.
She's not quite a workout person like we are either, though. She's one of those that she kind of stays in shape without, no matter what she does.
Yeah.
She can eat dino nuggies and watch Netflix and still be like, yeah, I look all right. Yeah.
I've gotten some weird like comments and messages about me exercising pregnant. You know,
Really?
like be careful. You know, stuff like that. And I'm like, isn't that the point when you're lifting heavy weights? Like you should always like be careful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, of course.
Usually I'm reckless.
Going to be careful. I have 70 pounds over my head. Like, why would I be careful right now? You know, or people are like, can you just relax a little bit and like take it easy? You know,
A lot of unwarranted advice, huh?
yeah. I mean, I think people are just like worried.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think now the generation is like more forward about exercising and doing things.
Right.
But for a while,
Yeah, because
it
like
was,
what I've
you know,
always,
it was like just go on walks.
what
or
I've
do
always heard is like if
prenatal
you feel good to do it, do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you aren't, lightheaded or feeling like you shouldn't be doing this, like go for it. What do I'm no baby doctor.
No, our first appointment, we went to the doctor, and I was like terrified to ask her. I was like, so I'm taking a group of ladies to Guatemala to hike a volcano in 3 weeks. She was
Normal stuff.
she was like, this is a first. Have you done something like this before? I'm like, yes. And she's like, you'll be fine. I was like, great. Perfect.
Nice.
Yeah. But
that is great.
Other
though.
than that, yeah. My energy's just like 80% of what it was before, I would say.
Back down to normal. During the build out, probably the only thing it's been, things are behind, which is fairly normal for build outs and construction things. But they were having multiple things were needing to get done. And they had the bathrooms working, and they took everything out to do all the tile in the bathrooms to put everything back in. Well, they got sidetracked to other things.
Oh no.
And so for like, we were in and out, they were doing construction. We were attempting to get organized, getting ready for that to be finished. And for like 11 days, we just kept coming in. Toilets are still sitting in the middle of the floor. And I was like, guys. And so she's like going to on-cue every hour and a half. And I was like, can we please
literally
skip the lights? Can you skip the other stuff and finish
Just
the
get the
bathrooms first? Because this is getting ridiculous.
Because I would be like, I'm going to go to on-cue to go to the bathroom. And then I would come back with a snack.
Yeah, right. Naturally. It's funny you say that. With the Yukon build out, they didn't have like the plumbing all completely finished. So fun fact, because I didn't know this prior, Sonics have a public bathroom, like a public restroom that's like just a door outside.
I had no idea.
No idea either. Never thought to like, because you don't go into a Sonic, and it is immaculately clean because no one ever uses it. I feel like it's just the employees, and it smells like French toast sticks in there. It's actually really nice.
What an experience.
Yeah, it was really nice.
I've added that to my survival guide. So.
Yeah, it
Noted.
is.
It was really funny when we found out too, because it was we were like, I can't remember what we were doing mostly.
Peeing in jugs.
Okay, maybe I do remember.
Oh, you didn't want to say that?
We were peeing in jugs before. And it was funny. I think we were doing something, but in the middle of build out, probably about where you guys are at. And Will Cossey just like walks out the front door, and we're just like, where is he going? And just like,
because nothing in our strip center is open. We were the first ones there by a mile. Like everything else is like literally doesn't have insulation, and we're like with walls.
And then he comes back, maybe 5-10 minutes later, and we're like, well, where did you go? And he's like, oh, I went and took a poop. I'm like, out back? He's like, no, Sonic's got a public bathroom, man. You didn't know that? We're like, no, none of us knew that.
You watched me pee in a jug 3 times. Why didn't you tell me?
He did watch me pee in a jug a bunch. He's like, I don't know. I just wanted to.
Yeah.
I
Will,
thought
you
you
little
just
freak.
wanted to. Oh my gosh.
I just trying to be efficient.
Yeah.
Like, get right back to work.
Yeah. He's like, wow, these guys are really dedicated. They don't even want to take the 30 seconds to walk to Sonic.
It's right next door.
This is so close.
Oh my gosh. Good to know. Good to know, though.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know.
If you're ever in an area where it's just like you don't want to go like all the way into like a restaurant or something like that, it's like the door's on the outside. You don't have to talk to anybody.
Great.
Sonic.
Yeah.
Shout out Sonic.
French toast bathrooms.
But something you start to not take for granted when you're in a new space and the plumbing isn't on is you don't have a bathroom readily available. I'm sure being pregnant and probably drinking a lot more water while you're doing some physical labor is rough.
Yeah, thirstiest I've been in my life. I could survive off of no water before, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so thirsty. It's just weird.
Things are changing.
Things are changing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Double build
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Double build out.
You got
There
double
we
build
go.
out going
There
on.
we go.
Building a baby,
Yeah.
building a gym.
I know. I had a really good friend. I kept having dreams that we were having twins. And she was like, I think it's because you're having a baby and opening your gym at the same time. It's like 2 babies. I was like, this is good.
Do you guys know boy or girl yet?
Girl.
Girl?
Yeah.
Congrats, guys. I don't know if I knew that. Maybe I did.
Joining the girl gang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the best.
I'm
It's
excited.
as at least from the dad's perspective, I feel like I get to be the one that lets her roam and be the cool dad, and Alyssa's the one that she's like she's got to teach Riley to be a woman, be a lady, you know. I don't know those things. I get to be a cool dad.
Oh, you get to be the fun one. Is
Yeah.
what you're saying. Yeah.
Okay.
Alyssa's
So
gonna
congrats,
love this
Sean.
episode, by the way. It's gonna be like Alyssa was mean to me. Alyssa, when she was pregnant, was this. Alyssa's the mean parent.
I was about to tell a story about her passing out while driving too.
Oh no! Oh no!
I haven't shared that one yet.
Oh no! That's so sad.
You guys want to hear this story?
Yes. No, I feel terrible.
No.
Okay.
It's been long enough. She told me I couldn't tell anybody, but this was the last pregnancy.
The last pregnancy.
Yeah, this is 2 babies ago. So I think that's enough time. So I mentioned Alyssa would get lightheaded when she worked out. She was dealing with that like a decent amount in her first pregnancy. She hasn't in this one much at all, knock on wood. But so she like couldn't work out because she started to feel like she would faint, and it's like, yeah, let's maybe just not do that for a little bit. Just take it easy. And we were driving back to St. Louis for a weekend to see my parents, and we got on the turnpike. We were there for maybe 20-30 minutes, like just outside of Oklahoma City, and I had a lot of work to do, so I put my headphones in. Alyssa's listening to music or podcasts or something like that. I got my headphones in, starting to work, got my laptop and my lap board out, and I'm, my notebook, getting some stuff done. I get a lot done on our trips back to St. Louis, and I feel a tap on my leg, and I pull my headphone out, and Alyssa's like, "Hey, I don't really feel good." I'm like, "What do you mean? Like, it's like head hurting you or like nausea or anything like that?" And she's like, "No, I'm getting lightheaded." I'm like, "We should pull over." And she's like, "I think I'm about to pass out," and starts to like really, really get nervous. Again, we're on the turnpike where the speed limit is I think we're up to 75 miles an hour at this point. And she really starts to like, I don't even want to say panic, but like she was probably a lot more calm than I would have been in this situation, but like definitely like freaking out a little bit. And I said, "Hey, you just need to pull over now. Like, let's not wait for like the most opportune time. Slow down and pull over now." She passed out before she could do that. I had to unbuckle my seatbelt, jump over,
Finish his email.
Oh yeah, press send.
Oh yeah.
Priorities. Send my out of office. Sit in the center console. I grabbed the steering wheel. Luckily her foot was not on the gas, but was also not on the brake. Gosh, I'm having to remember this story because I haven't talked about it in a long time. Grab the steering wheel, get us over into the shoulder. Like we just coast, and I'm trying to find the brake, but both of her feet are down at the bottom. So I couldn't get to the brake. So we coast until we stop. Luckily we were going uphill, And then I'm like really looking for the brake now that we're at a stop. Can't get to it because her feet are in the way. We start to roll backwards on the shoulder on the turnpike. And so I just grabbed the e-brake and pulled it.
Smart.
And then I blacked out after that. I can't.
That's
You
terrifying.
didn't pass out too, though.
No.
You're both just.
I'm trying to remember what happened after that, though, and I really can't. I think I got back over. Alyssa woke back up. I don't know how long. She wasn't out for very much longer than that, but
That's terrifying.
And then I drove the rest of the way back to St. Louis.
Yeah.
So,
Anyways,
You're like, could be worse.
Yeah.
don't pass out while driving.
It could be worse. So just take your low energy and just deal with it.
Yeah, no lightheadedness or anything.
That's terrible. That is so scary.
Yeah.
That is so scary.
I was really proud of myself, though.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
was,
fast moving.
More intense situation than I'm typically in. So
Oh yeah, I would have just like panicked. I would have tried to like open my door or something,
jump out.
But it was the wrong
See you
way.
later, sucker.
Bail ship.
Yeah.
He'll figure it out.
Yeah. He'll wake up in a second.
It'll be all right.
Oh man, yeah, that's scary. That's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quick thinking on the e-brake, though.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was really proud of that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Thanks.
Look at that.
That's like I don't think I've gotten to share that story with anybody other than you. Like I haven't even gotten to tell my parents or anything. Like she was like, "Hey, like I really would rather not tell your parents when we get there." I'm like, "I get it, but like, what the fuck? Like I can't share what just happened
Like, I
with
just
anybody."
saved our lives.
I do get that, though, because I remember coming home from St. Louis one time, and I was going to, back when we lived in Springfield, and this was when I was driving the Durango, and I was going, and it was raining, and I don't know, I had cruise control on or whatever, and it was like one of those situations where it's like the cruise control kicked in right as we hit like a big puddle or like a slick spot, and my Durango literally just like fishtailed completely. I'm facing the opposite direction off the side of the road. Luckily, usually there's a whole bunch of big drop-offs like in between Springfield and St. Louis, but luckily I just happened to hit the patch of grass, slid all the way sideways across the patch of grass, and landed on the service road on all four tires facing the opposite direction. Mm-hmm. And I've told that story like 5,000 times. And I didn't do anything besides scream and like pee myself as that was happening. I didn't have to jump across, save the day. And I've told that story so many times. So I can appreciate like the desired, like, you were a fucking hero, Kevin.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
A hero.
That's the first time I got to share that.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Superman twice.
That's right.
Yeah, and all the bereavement from her.
Then technically it was 3 people. She was pregnant,
Yeah.
right? Was she
Was
pregnant at the time?
Yes, she was. Yeah, she was pregnant at that time.
See?
Yeah,
Saved
3
all
people.
3 of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Alyssa's lucky to have me.
Oh, goodness. And then she was like,
man.
Kevin, you scuffed up my shoes.
Didn't she? No. That would have been so funny though.
What'd you do to my shoes?
That would be. That's what I love about Alyssa. Is that's not far off from what like she would really appreciate. Like obviously everything that happened, but that would be her comment. And it's like that's why I love her.
It's pretty good.
Like, why did it take you so long to grab the emergency brake?
How long have I been out for?
Jeez.
I remember passing out at least a quarter mile down the road, Kevin. What were you doing?
Oh man.
Shout out Alyssa.
Now, does Alyssa still, I mean, does she drive around by herself? Has she been scared to you since then?
We really assessed for a long time. Like, luckily we were in St. Louis and we just like had one vehicle. So I drove that whole weekend and everything. She started to get a really good sense for like, I think that was like, it was earlier on in her pregnancy too. So she got a really good sense for like when she feels like that could happen. So she's really taken a lot of precautions, and like I think there was one other time in that pregnancy that she like started to feel just a tiny little bit iffy, and she like pulled over immediately. So she's I think it's just learning that like when I feel a certain way. So I think I even remember her like at the gas station, her being like, I can kind of I noticed that I'm pregnant today. So it's like we should have known, or now we know if she says that or she feels that way. It's like, I'm going to drive her. You need to just hang out for a little bit. So
Some warning signs.
Dang, yeah.
yeah, a lot of warning signs. So Do you guys any crazy pregnancy stories from you guys so far?
I think
minus the finding out we're pregnant and then signing this location.
yeah.
Immediately
How far
after
apart was that?
Let's see. Well, nothing was by accident. So
You didn't sign a lease on accident?
Nope. But you would wonder. Sometimes you talk to people and you're like, were you aware that you did that?
Yeah.
Let's see. We hired, mid-November, right after your birthday. You're like, hey, I think we should like bring a human into the world.
It was right before my birthday.
I was
I was turning 35 and I was kind of panicking
like-
about life.
All right, sure. Let's do that. And then maybe 2 weeks later, we hired a gym real estate like guy. That's all he does is like help people get into new spaces and buy buildings and all this stuff. And that was maybe 2 weeks later. And then we started going through the very basics of what we need and where we're at and like getting all the data ready. And we walked through this space mid-December, I think the first time.
Before we knew.
And then we were like, oh, I really like this space. Let's like kind of push forward on it. And then we found out that she was pregnant right before Christmas, and then signed the lease at the very end of January.
So about
But,
a month
lease
apart.
negotiations were happening. Yeah.
So we were negotiating and we were like pregnant, and it was like deposit, like very close. So our business mentor at the time, he's still our mentor, Evan, but he was, we were talking, hey, we walked to the space. It looks really good. It's got all the numbers and things and stuff. And he's like, what would be like the best month, do you think, to do really, like if you're do this, super smart in your area? And we're like, probably a September.
September is
And,
always our highest
He's like,
month.
okay, all right,
It's
okay.
really-
Yeah, it's our best month.
Interesting.
September's the new January, by the way, for fitness.
We've noticed some changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah, September's the new January for sure.
yeah,
At least
yeah.
in the instructor-led side of fitness. There's way more data coming out that like September's are really big months coming off of the summers.
interesting.
So he was like, maybe you should wait till September. And we were like,
we're like,
we're going to have a baby in August.
and he was like, oh.
And no one knew yet. Like,
yeah,
no
no one.
our family, nobody
Technically, we were on the call, and she was like, Danny's pregnant? And he was like, Danny. Danny. And he was like, oh, shit. Okay, yeah.
knew. You got to do it now.
You got to go now. He's like, if you do not, he's like, either execute now and smash
Immediately.
by May or wait a year.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, and he doesn't even have kids, but he's
Yeah.
been in this long enough. He was like,
Right.
you need to be in and then out by August, or you're going to need to wait another 6 months to get back into that process again.
And you guys think like I do of like, okay, if we're patient and we wait this amount of time, it's
Right.
like, or if we do it all really quickly, we can get it both done quickly.
We just don't sleep and we.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
That's the fun part.
you either have like
Yeah.
a perfectly planned out strategy and this like this perfect runway of all the things and A, B, C, D, E, F, or you're like, fuck it, right to Z.
Yeah.
That's what I like.
Yeah.
I like doing
Forget
it
all that stuff.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
just crank.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
We had a meeting beginning of the year where it was like, guys, theme of the year is fuck it, we ball. Let's do it.
Yeah.
We're just gonna go.
Yeah.
We that was a big thing with him stepping into a general management position and Preston stepping into more of a full-time defined position. Was I was overloaded, not sleeping, and we weren't pregnant, didn't have another location. It was just I was just overwhelmed with everything we had going on, and it was like we're kind of like there were a lot of areas that weren't getting the attention that they needed, and it was like in our numbers. Everything was doing better, but it wasn't growing how we were kind of hoping. And it was like more work, not as much growth. We need to change something. And it was like, okay, well, we don't have more money coming in, but we're going to take a big risk and move Thomas to a GM spot and Preston to a defined spot.
That's a dumb idea.
And hopefully that does well enough that it generates enough revenue that it just covers that. So that was what sold me on the idea. It was being able to communicate that with you and Preston of like, hey, are you guys up to do this? with a big risk of like, if we don't do better, we are going to financially, it's going to put us in a really tough spot.
Right.
And I think there was a lot of motivation. There was a lot of motivation for me. I assume there's a lot of motivation for you guys as well. It has turned out really, really well. I work less and we've grown a lot. So
nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
We're kidding around all the time. Like I haven't been on the floor on a very long time, and coming back to like this part of the process and going back to when we first built Prevail from the get-go, it was just her and I. She did considerably more of the one-on-one stuff. I did way more of the group stuff. And
we've been attacking VIP sessions together and onboarding
we've been like
sessions
back on the floor teaching group, and then we've been onboarding, like going through staff selection and like trying to get new instructors in the wheelhouse. And kidding around with them, like Prevail has grown exponentially once I got off the floor. And they're like, no, you're really good. And you're like, yeah, no, seriously. Like,
I see the numbers.
Like,
I know when I wasn't there anymore. Like it's a graph. It's not a debatable thing.
It's twice as big with me not on the floor. And they're like, okay. That doesn't really make sense. And I'm like, well, yeah, everyone's better than me.
Kevin was like, should we make you the GM? I'm like, yeah, I guess. And say, record months every month? Dang, that's crazy. you
can brag about that as much as you want.
Yeah, you suck, dude.
Honestly, dude. That was a tough pill to swallow, I think. Luckily, I did it before this moment, was realizing that certain people are... pretty much everyone at the company is better at me than something. The only thing I'm really good at is figuring out who's best at that job. So,
hey, they're valuable.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. We talked to a lot of people who are like the specialist versus generalist, and the idea of like, well, yes, I can do 8 jobs at 17% capacity, and I can make 100% of things happen, or I could find 2 people who work at 100% capacity and I work at 100%. Now we're 300% at actual effectiveness. So
that's where I was at.
Yeah. Put other people into the jobs that they can do well.
Well, and what's funny is too, I think with business, it becomes so easy to just like, as everybody's doing more and more and more and always trying to, like find new avenues of things that they can do. I think that like what we really ran into, and like through no fault of like you or anybody, it's just like the way of business and how it goes, is like, I think we got to a point where it was like everything could get done, but nothing had room to breathe or improve or even spend the time to think, can we be doing this better? So it was like, that was a big thing for us too, was like when we transitioned into these roles for myself, Preston, and you, it was like, hey, let's not put any of us at 100% capacity for a while. And let's see this 75% that we have now, let's grow it. Let's see how much we can improve on these things because we have the time to actually focus on it. Or like, you just genuinely did not. Like, you had to just be like running around as much as you could, where it's like, there'd be something would be like, hey, we noticed at, this store, this was going on. And it was like, oh, bro, I was there yesterday and I don't even know if they had supplements on the walls. Like, I was in and out and talking and doing everything I needed to do. And it's just like those blinders come on because you literally have to. Otherwise, one thing gets pushed, which pushes the next. And it's like being a barber. It's like, well, if I take 5 more minutes on you, that means everyone for the rest of the day is 5 minutes behind. Like, I've got to make sure that I am on my P's and Q's of like making sure I'm right where I need to be all the time. Yeah.
And so with that capacity with you guys inside the team, was location for always part of the plan, or would it become part of the plan once there was more people in place?
It was always part of the plan. The overall plan was, at least for a while, I was doing okay with 3 locations and the role and the responsibilities that I had. But I knew as we continue to grow, like I was like, okay, 4 locations I think will push me past my limit. And so the plan was to get 4 as we were opening up the 4th location, transition someone into a general management position, and kind of do that at the same time. Like, essentially, like, hey, we're about to open. All right, now let's do it. But 4th location for us definitely took a while. Financing was a very long piece of that puzzle.
What are you talking about? You just go to the bank and they give you the money like a week later, right?
Here you go.
Yeah.
Oh.
You're opening up a new store. Oh yeah, here's the money. Wait, what? Who are you with?
Yeah. They don't call you and go, hey, can we have this? And you go like, oh, I already brought you guys that 3 times. And they're like, oh.
They had asked me about a misdemeanor that I had when I was 21 years old, a wildlife misdemeanor. And I'm like, what? And they were like, yeah, it was in Nevada, Missouri. And I'm like, fuck, I only did one thing in Nevada, Missouri, and that was duck hunt. And I got a ticket one time because I was teal hunting with a few friends, and someone looked up on their phone when shooting hours started, and they said it was half an hour before sunrise. It turns out it is actually sunrise. We started shooting a little bit too early, and I got a misdemeanor. The bank called me about that.
Wow.
What if that would have been the reason we didn't get a loan? Well, that's what you get, you criminal. How dare you shoot 30 minutes before the sun comes up?
My dad,
your life is ruined.
I definitely feel like I disappointed my dad with that one because my dad, I grew up hunting with my dad. I didn't think I was going to have to relive that one. Anyway, it was Store 4 has been in the works for a very, very, very long time, over a year now. And we just kind of got to that point in the midst of that. And I think a lot of it was I was staying up late and submitting forms that the bank needed. And, but yeah, I was, like Thomas was saying, I was at kind of like bare minimum maintenance and having to stay up until 3-4 in the morning, like every single night, that it was like, we got to change something. And it gave us the opportunity to get that breathing room to be able to make improvements. We've done a ton with our customer service training. We are currently writing an entire textbook for our in-house test.
Nice.
And it's because we've got extra time that Preston can dedicate, Thomas can dedicate. But yeah, it came earlier than we expected.
But was 4 when it was like open 1 with the idea of 4, it was like 1, let's see how 2 goes. Or when did number 4 pop up? Was it post 3? Or as 3 was happening? You're like, oh, maybe I could do this again twice.
I think we want 100 of them.
I was going to say, before we opened up 1, we wanted 100.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. Right. And then so it was like a numbers thing, and then it was a people thing. You got to 3 and you're like, well, I know 4 is next, but I got to make a people shift before I can make 4.
When do those things happen? Is like, I don't know. When do we need multiple district managers? If we get to 100 stores, when do we need multiple district managers? I don't know. We'll probably maybe hit another point where Thomas is up until 3 or 4 in the morning, and he'll be like, hey, bro, think we need to make a shift. So,
Wow. Yeah.
It's cool.
What about you guys? What was the main determining moment of just like, screw it, let's do a second one?
I think 2 parts. 1, we got to a little point of like feeling a little too comfortable, like in our everything we were doing. Like, oh, this feels really good. Okay, and the exact same moment, you're like, ooh, that doesn't feel good. That it feels so good. Like this something is off. Like we need to do.
Not challenging yourself.
I don't know what is going on here, but this feels weird. Being okay with everything. And we were back and forth for a long time whether or not we wanted to, and which direction we wanted to put more energy into, like from the Dani online side to like Prevail Adventure Club side to like scaling system or to like opening more locations. And the more we got into it, the more we learned about our unique kind of superpowers as, the owners. We kept thinking, well, really the best tools we have is to make more of these. Like that's the best thing. That's the best versions of ourselves that we can put into the brand, is to make more of them, not to make other offshoots of the thing. And it took us a long time to go from 1 to 2. We hired our second coach, Evan, 3 years ago, maybe. And the first thing we got on the phone with
2022.
him, the first thing we got on the phone was like, here's where we're at. We're moving forward, and we want to know when and how we should make the decision for 2. Not we want to. It was like, we need to know everything that we need to like have done in order to make a confident decision of going to number 2.
Because at this point, we were like still on the floor. Yep. We weren't like really we were going on trips, but most of them were like work based. I don't know.
Yeah, we're still working.
We didn't have a lot of like just free
350
time.
days a year.
Yeah,
However
you
many
know.
it was.
You're still front end a decent amount, not
Yeah.
primarily
Yeah.
back end.
Yeah.
Quite a
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
When did you guys move primarily back end or like completely?
Completely
Like
off?
were you like from coaching?
Off the floor. Mine was the end of 2022, but then I still run all the nutrition stuff. That's not on the floor, but it's still online.
Yeah. I think I taught my last session on the schedule the end of
Middle of 2023, probably. It
somewhere
was like a
around
couple
there.
months after me. Yeah.
So it's been almost 2 years off the floor.
Yeah.
100%. But that was like, okay, now all the pieces were in set and we're like, we feel fairly confident. And that's when when getting pregnant was also like, ooh, this pressure. We have to make something happen now if we want to have more of Prevail, or are we going to be okay sitting around waiting a year to like apply ourselves again?
Yeah.
And so the pressure of that coming along also kind of like sped everything up. We're like, if we're going to do it, this is the time to do it. And we joke around like we made a lot of bad decisions. I wouldn't say bad decisions, but very risky decisions to get into this place.
Yeah.
Because we did not have a lot of the bank things, the numbers things, the people things. They didn't have any of that hard like finish green light. We had a bunch of like pre-authorizations, a bunch of little conversations here and there, a bunch of like, yeah, things will be good and that'll be good and that'll be good, that'll be good. And you know, we knew kind of like it was highly likely everything would be fine, but nothing was done. 0% of things were done when we signed that lease. In January.
I don't think people realize like how many times you have to make crazy like risky decisions like that like you got to think outside the box and like
put it all on black.
Yeah, seriously though. Like
I think
risk.
November we were just like wild because that's when we got pregnant. That's when you launched it with me, but our first like Prevail Adventure Club like paid option out of the country, and then also hired the coach to look for spaces. So the day I climbed off of the volcano in Guatemala from sleeping on the volcano at night, Sean texted me and he's like, Lisa's officially signed. I'm like, cool.
Wow.
We were both just like, just losing it.
Pretty normal. Yeah, you know, pretty typical stuff.
Wild. And they said when they signed it, like that's February 17th, signed the lease. And they're like, have it ready to you April 1st. I'm like, okay, very well. That's what you say, April 1st. Let's go. And then so we basically built and got everything ready to move in by April 1st in 45 days.
I mean, you did all of like the bank paperwork and all
Everything.
of that stuff.
Like prepared everything, got everything all like the equipment, got everything ready to go to purchase, got all the plans ready to go, got the organization ready to go. All that happened in 45 days from April 1. April 1, construction's not finished. And now it's April 17th.
It's the 21st.
Was it 18th when we got the
18th.
We got the space officially 100% ours.
On the
April 1,
18th.
we could come in while construction was happening and start on things.
But we couldn't unbox anything because
Right.
they had their
Right.
scissor lifts in here.
Right.
I mean,
a new building,
Yeah.
we
right.
get that.
Yeah, so we are
couldn't do anything.
technically, right now, we are on day 4 of the space 100% only being ours.
You guys might be 2 weeks in a day.
Yeah, we might be 2 weeks in a day. Our goal has been
we
May
better
1.
be because
Yeah.
May 1
Yeah,
is
May 1 the entire
close.
time.
Yeah.
And, what did we get? We got an email today. I was like, we were unboxing all these things, unboxing stuff and all these racks. And I was looking around and I was like, there's no barbells. I was like, I swear I ordered barbells. So I'm getting on my computer like late at night. It was, it's like 8:00 on a Saturday. She's at dinner with friends and I'm like next door at Taco Empire, which is delicious,
like
by the
right
way,
over
right?
here.
I've seen that.
It's so good.
Mm.
It's so good over there.
That's right.
And just get the steak burrito. It's delicious.
Mm,
There you go.
deal.
Okay. I'm like getting my computer out, checking emails, and Saturday night at 8:00 in the middle of a restaurant. I'm like, did I order barbells in an order? Sure enough, there's like 9 barbells on this order. And I was like, barbells aren't here. And I get on the phone with him today. And he's like, yeah, those been back ordered. They might ship out on the 2nd. I was like, good grief. Are you kidding me? So we're
Just
opening
so
a gym
sad.
on May 1 with no barbells.
Hey, you got to make it
Could
happen.
be worse, right?
Yeah.
What's
I was gonna say, I remember when whenever we opened Yukon, like the guy from the city showed up one day and he was like, I don't think you guys are supposed to be open. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I think we turned in all of our stuff.
open
And,
signs on, bud?
yeah. And he's like, Yeah, but the building doesn't have their paperwork done to like for anything to be open in here. And I'm like, listen, buddy, I just work here. You know, I know what the owner's going to ask me. What's the worst that's going to happen? You know, like, am I going to get in trouble? Are we going to get in trouble? And he's like, well, you know, they can't really do much to you guys. You know, it might be, but you know, I think it would be best if you guys go ahead and close. And I'm like, yeah, you know, like I said, man, I'm just an hourly guy. You know, I work here on the weekends, you know. And he's like, no, I get it, you know. And I'm like, owner's a real ball buster, you know. I gotta like, I know he's gonna. And the guy was like, yeah, and then he left. I'm like, we're not closing.
Like, dude,
District manager over there.
Yeah, what are you talking about? I'm hourly on the weekends.
That's why he's the district manager.
Right. Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? And they're like, yeah, they're not going to come and shut you down. And we're like, then we're staying open.
And
That's wild.
What really happened? Like, what was the issue?
it was like the buildings didn't have, the building itself didn't, like us as a business, we had all our permits, but the building itself didn't have its final permits, even though like our landlord's like super simple of like, I'm like, hey, Ali, are we good to go? Like we got all our permits, just checking with you. Like, what do you think? He's like, oh yeah, you're good to go. Yeah. That's all I need. Honestly, like I'm not even gonna ask any more questions because like I don't want to know.
I don't want to know.
Better off not knowing.
Right.
But yeah, it's one of those of like, all right, to be completely honest, all 2 of the 3 locations we opened before we were technically supposed to.
Right.
Norman, we opened the day after we got all our permits. Mm-hmm. Literally, I remember Alyssa coming in like that evening, like the sun setting and everything, and she's like, I got the last one. But it's literally the difference of like this location. Like we've hired all the people. We've got all the expenses associated with this location, and it's thousands of dollars a month to be able to operate. So for us, like maybe even this is maybe too much, but it's for a base location. It's usually about $15,000 a month in expenses, and if we're just going to close down because we think that's a good idea, that means zero income to cover $15,000 a month in expenses. And it's like, we'll take the risk.
Yeah.
You can find us quite a bit before
it's going to take you're going to have to find us a lot before it offsets everybody coming in.
Yeah. Oof.
If the city is listening though, we opened on after we got all our licenses and permits.
Some stories told in this podcast are fiction.
100% just stories.
Right.
In a theoretical world,
right.
Someone else may have.
It's like when you write a song that says like, you were selling drugs and shooting people. Like it's art, know? And that's what this is. This is art.
Yeah. Art.
Yeah.
Making movies.
Right.
So May 1st is like, what's the reason for the deadline?
To make money.
No, smart.
That's honestly,
smart
you guys got the expenses though. I was like, absolutely.
Yeah. Just start like a fresh month. It's just like easy to tell people like your membership would start May 1.
Yeah,
right. That makes sense.
It gets confusing.
You have to choose something.
Yeah.
Right.
You gotta you can't be, which has been really hard for a lot of our marketing so far, is because we've been like, oh, we think it's going to be April 1. Oh, we think it's going to be May. Oh, we think it's going to be, we're waiting on construction. We're waiting on this person to send a thing. But everyone in the audience is like, so what?
Right. They don't understand.
Just tell me when I can come in or I can't.
Right.
Like, I don't care about all that stuff.
So you guys have kind of promoted it as May 1st a little bit.
We've been using kind of specific. We've been using language of we're going to do our absolute best for the first, no matter what. We'll be operating by the 12th. 5th is kind of a weird, like if something really gets wound up. We've been telling a lot of people that functionally, I think we'll be ready for the first. We may not be aesthetically 100% ready on the first.
Hey.
Might not be as cute yet.
But when it comes to like, can you come in and pick up kettlebells in a group with an instructor leading you? Yes, May 1 can happen.
Right. Maybe do it now.
Technically, we're trying really hard.
We're going to do an onboarding session tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Here.
So
heck yeah.
We just literally laid out that mat and those bells this afternoon.
To be able to do that.
Yeah, to be able to run onboarding tomorrow.
Heck yeah.
I'm
I
gonna
love
say
it.
first we had to move them all outside,
We had to move
and then
everything
clean the
outside.
floor, and then move them back inside today. You know what I mean?
Lots of
You know
carries
what I
to
And
mean?
some jackasses walked over there with their dusty shoes and got
Dang.
footprints all over it. Who did that?
We did too.
Who did that?
Kevin.
We were
Yeah.
we tried to avoid our shoes the other day, and I laughed so hard because Sean was like on his hands and knees, and he's like crawling across the floor, and I'm like, why is there dirt still everywhere? And his kneecaps were just like leaving these like circle prints all the way
Dust.
down. I
Just
was like,
dirt
oh,
all
man.
over. It's
I'm like,
just
you might as well
walking through.
stand. You
Yeah.
know, it's fine.
It's just gonna be a mess.
We're just gonna have to mop it 9 million.
It's kind of how it
times.
was.
It's
It
okay.
was funny to think, like, dude, I'm still finding little drops of paint on my body.
Same.
And it's like, I wore pants. How do I have paint on my calf? Like, what is happening? Like, it's everywhere. It's like I've showered 9 times. I bet I could find some paint right now. Everybody, hold on. You guys talk amongst
Hold
yourselves.
on, he said.
No, I think the fact that you guys have like found that like set May 1st as the deadline, and yeah, you have to promote it, so that even kind of puts a little bit more of that pressure on like getting open by the day. But I believe that's probably why you guys are where you're at, because you set your own deadlines. I feel like that can be a pitfall for so many people in projects, just big or small, of like, you know, hey, yeah, we'll move forward and you know, we'll do one thing at a time and we'll open when we open. But
Yeah. No. You gotta like the sense of violence isn't the. I've been using that word lately a lot.
Sledgehammer.
Yeah, sledgehammer
do?
is like you have to be in sledgehammer mode, and if you don't, you can't keep up with your what you want for your demand. If you don't put that energy out there from the get-go, and you kind of like softly kind of like just wade your way through it, everyone around you and the people who are trying to like absorb that off you are going to feel the same way. And you can't be slow when you're getting into business, especially in a launch mode. You don't want to open up Edmund and be like, oh, I don't know, we might be open sometime in the future.
Right.
Everyone's going to be like, oh, okay, cool. And then that's already a representation of your brand.
Right.
And everyone's already perceiving that as part of your brand. But if you're like,
Right.
you're like, I might be selling Define and a picnic table in the front of the store,
Right.
but I'm going to be there blank date. They're like, okay, because now I can trust you and I've done this in the past and this is something to rely on.
Well, that was like something that, like, you know, in not to understandably so, I think from their point of view, that's something we had to battle with employees too.
Yeah.
Of employees being like, I've heard about this new store opening for almost a year. Like, is it happening? And then we kind of had to finally have a sit down and be like, listen, this is everything that's happened. This is everything that's going on. Here's how we've done nothing to slow down this process. Here's how Kevin has stayed up until 2-3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
In fact, to make this as seamless and as smooth as possible.
Right.
And it still takes this long. And just like showing them and having them understand a little bit more, just, you know, seeing it from the inside of like, this isn't something that just happens overnight. And it's like, you know, it's something that like we've had to struggle with at times too, when it comes to, like if we're making a new Define product and it's like, you know, hey, we're going to make a new Define product. And it's like, people, understandably so, do not realize how long of a process it is to make a new product.
Yeah.
Like, let alone if you have to flavor it and do all those things too. But we're talking like, we accidentally one time mentioned a reformulation of a product to a customer once prematurely. And they came in like almost every week asking about it. And it's like, this is a 6-month process, maybe, or a 4-month process. It's like, man, it's going to be a long, and so we had to like hammer to our employees too of like, do not mention this, because people aren't going to have that same expectation because they don't understand all the inner workings, understandably. But it's like, you see it, and it's funny how it's like, you know, customers, but even like employees at times, it's like they have to understand, like, and sometimes even be explained to more of like, this is not a process that just like happens overnight. This is a long drawn out thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been talking about second location for so long because we were like, we want to do it. We're not sure. And then we hired this business coach, and his first thing for us was like, you need to leave for 5 days and like be unavailable. Because like if you're opening at 2, you can't be like so in the 1, you know, or like it's going to miss that once you've like are putting it 2. So the first was like 5 days. And then the second one was like, you got to leave for 2 weeks. We were like, 2 weeks. What do we do? It's like, just hike the whole time. Fine.
Right. Yeah.
But it was like these steps, but it felt like such a long time from telling people that like, oh yeah, we really want to open more locations.
Yeah. It's such a long, because we think just now, right? It's going. This is a crazy.
Almost feels like you're
time
lying,
too, but
right. Well, people think you are.
People are like, I'm sure.
You're like, okay, sure you are. Whatever. You keep talking, keep
Right.
talking. I can see no action.
Yeah, I know.
It will be 75 days from the time we signed the lease to the time February, March, April, right? May 1. Is that 75 days?
Yeah.
Is that right? So all four of us are mathing. Late that is going
I wasn't
on.
even trying.
I believed you.
I did too.
Great.
Something like that. It's like either way, 75 or 95 days from the time we sign the lease to the time we operate.
Right.
That 90 days was off of a 2-year launch pad of information.
Or just
of
like
things,
setting
of
stuff up.
of
Yeah.
systems
Yeah.
and places
Yeah.
and all that stuff
Yeah.
has to be layered so that you can be like crank go. But
Yeah.
it takes so much of the
Because
build up before.
our business coach, his first question to us was like, get your Google Drive organized with your SOPs, because if you guys are gone, how do people know what to do? And I was like, I don't have a Google Drive. My what?
Yeah.
He's like, your Google Drive. And I was like, oh,
I totally have one of those.
I don't even have one to organize. Like,
I was just needed to get it cleaned up.
Brush it up on that anyway.
You see the way my computer's set up.
I was needing to get a new one. Actually, I was going to go to the store.
Where they sell those Google Drives? You get those at Best Buy, or what's up with that?
He did like email us a Google sheet, it was like an Excel. It's like a spreadsheet. And I emailed back. I'm like, my computer doesn't open. I thought I needed like an Excel program. Like that's how like I didn't know at all. And then I was like, oh, there's no colors on here. What are we doing? We've learned a lot the last 2 years about systems and but.
Well, I think you guys operate the same way we operate too. Is you're kind of at the mercy of other people doing stuff that are just a whole lot less urgent than you guys, especially, and build out really draws attention to that a lot of having to wait for the bathrooms to be set up. Is it? I mean, that's in like from financing all the way to opening the door is you're just constantly waiting on other people.
Constantly.
So when the ball's in your court, again, I think you guys operate how we do is you will not wait on us. Like it will happen as fast as possible. That's why like when the bank needed something or the landlord needed something, like I legitimately, I fell asleep like reading our lease because I didn't have time to like read through our lease until like late at night. I fell asleep probably 5 or 6 times reading our lease. Like I would wake up and the lease would be in my lap, like, and all right, back to work. Like, but it was, I will have this, I will respond to your email before you wake up in the morning.
Right. You're like, drop ceilings.
He just has, every time he wakes up, drop things, emergency brake.
Tonnage of HVAC.
Those are all things we had to work out. But you guys, I think, are a whole lot more prepared than we were on the second location. Thomas was our manager for the Norman location, or ended up being our manager for the Norman location. We didn't know he was even going to work for us when I signed the lease. So, I was...
So to clear that up, you signed a lease for a second location, right? Without knowing who would work there.
I thought I knew who was going to work there.
Just so there you go, kids, right? Like, signing leases to businesses, not having a clue who's actually going to be working in that business, except for yourself if it has to happen.
I went into it with the plan and did this for a while. I worked hours at both stores. For a period of time, a transition period, I was acting manager. That didn't last very long because I wasn't very good at managing 2 locations. But as like Thomas was coming back and onboarding back on and getting Anthony transitioned into management at Quail Springs, we did not have nearly the systems that you guys had. I think we just kind of one was doing well and it was continuing to grow. And we're like, yeah, we could do this again, and kind of had like a general plan in my head, and we went for it, and kind of figured it out as we went. Now we have a lot of really good systems, but you guys, I think, are a whole lot more prepared for a second location.
Ours were bred out of necessity of like, this system no longer works. This half system we have.
That's a very fast speed to learn. But your timeline, because from 0 to 1, let's see, open location 1 was when? Let's see.
Very end of 2015.
2015. Okay. 15. So 15 to 2 was.
We opened in 2020. So 5 years.
5 years. Right. So we were, technically it was 14 was Prevail version 1. 17 was in studio.
First location.
Your own location. Yeah.
Standalone 17. So we went from 17 to 25.
Long
to
time.
location 2. That's a big gap. Huge gap.
So I was going to say, I feel like when you guys were talking about getting like location done before the baby comes, I think really sets you guys up well. In my opinion, I think location 3 will be easier than location 2. I don't know that ours was a ton, but like I don't know. I think we ran into some really good problems with UConn. It was a whole lot busier than we expected to.
I was going to say, I think it was easier to grow the store than it was for like the store 1 or 2, but like getting it all ready to go.
For me personally, I guess it was. UConn was definitely easier than Norman, but not exponentially, because like if we would have hired enough staff and anticipated how busy that store was going to be when it opened up, it would have been so much easier. But I think, like you mentioned before, of like building those systems to open up a new location, I think you guys are at least getting an idea on what those would even look like now, so that when you got a little one running around, it's like, okay, like we can do this without having to, like we know, what needs to kind of be put in place to be able to make this happen, and not have to be the ones up here all day and night kind of deal.
Right. Yeah. Simple things like, this is the manual reps of like putting a rack together. We haven't done that in 3-4 years. You just lose all those little kind of like tiny skills along the way. And you lose also the like, you forget about the timeline that everyone else is on compared to your own timeline, because you've been in your own for so long, and then you move and you like start to rely on other people's timelines, but you haven't had that skill of other people's timelines to think about. And now we're like, oh, right. Everyone moves twice as slow. I forgot about that. Been a minute. So at least when 3, you're like, okay, anticipate, like, it's going to be slower. It's okay. Slow down. Give yourself a bigger runway.
Right.
And it's also wild to think about hiring people before you're like actually open.
Oh, yeah.
That's so hard to be like, well, we're going to have this thing and we're pretty sure it's going to be open May 1st because they're supposed to be done April 1st. So let's get you, it's just like, what?
That's really hard. And
it's so hard.
Building out a schedule. You guys didn't have a change in like operating hours from 1 to 2 to 2 to 3 and 4, right? It wasn't like you like condensed operating hours. It was like the same, pretty much, regardless if we think we're busy or not. Here's the hours that we're going to be operating.
As far as open and close, was just the same as the first one.
Overlaps the big change.
Yeah,
I do. There are 10 14-year-old volleyball player girls at my house right now, and my wife has called me 3 times. So I'm going to step outside real fast.
Okay. Goodness. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
The life of Thomas.
They need snacks.
That's what it is. Food.
They need snacks.
By the way,
bring some pizza.
You know the answer already.
They just want food.
I hope that's what it is.
When are you going to be back?
Bad.
By the way, on your way home, can you grab? So the operating hours is very, very similar, but the operating for you guys, it's like, do we need 1 person for the first 8 hours? Do we need 2 people for the first 8 hours? That's a big shift. And you think of like payroll. We need 4 people for the month. No, we need 8 people for the month. That's a huge, huge number to like just kind of whiff around. And
it's payroll being, I'm sure you guys are probably at least in a similar boat, is payroll is by far our biggest expense. So the difference in 1 or 2 people could make or break us in certain situations. So
that's quite a bit.
Yeah.
Not to be a party pooper, but I heard I was told toilet emergency. So I hate to dip, but I think this is something I'm going to have to go on.
Dang, I was hoping they just needed snacks.
Yeah,
but,
it doesn't sound like it.
All right. One condition. You have to explain what the toilet emergency was on the next episode.
Yeah, deal. Sorry, viewers. I know it's not going to be as fun without me, but
Yeah, you're good. Bye, Thomas.
See you, Thomas.
Bye. Terrible.
Terrible.
What kind of evening is he about to have?
Oh, not
no.
good. That is not a good evening.
Worse than ours, I think. So he lives in an apartment too, so that's
Oh no.
any kind of like plumbing or flooding or anything like that could be tough.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Ooh, well,
We'll wish him the
good
best.
for him.
14
Yeah,
girls.
Yeah.
Like 10, 14-year-old girls.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
a lot.
Wife's a volleyball coach, and he's
Fun.
he's technically a coach this year as well. So yeah, he's been having a lot of fun.
Cool.
Yeah. I don't think he knows much about volleyball, not as much as these girls do, but I think he's moral support quite a bit. So
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
He can just coach whatever. Coach, insert any sport.
yeah,
I
exactly.
can see Thomas like showing up to any sport ever and just being, yeah, I'm going to coach today and
Yes.
Yeah.
just tell you guys what to do.
He's one of the rare people that would be able to do. I wouldn't be able to do that.
No.
So
No, I wouldn't either.
No, it doesn't matter. He's just like,
No.
yeah, you guys are doing a good job. Yeah, you work harder. Yeah, okay, great. Keep going. Yeah, go around the circle things. Come back around.
Back around.
But yeah, no, you're right though. With that was the issue that we ran into with UConn, because like at a news store, this will be maybe something we run into with Edmund as well. When we have an existing store, we can watch the ebbs and flows. As we grow, we can slowly extend the overlap of like you can start small with just 4 hours in the middle of the day, and then expand that into where it's 2 people or 3 people on shift at all times. Where like Quail Springs like has weekends with 3 people a lot of times, and during the week it is 2 people at open and 2 people at close. But a brand new store is it's typically starts out with just 1 person on shift at any given time, which creates some funny situations, that's for sure. Going to the bathroom as one.
Right.
But so like for Norman, we had just 1 person on shift for the first, I think, 6 months. Probably about 6 months, and then we started doing a small overlap, and it got bigger and bigger, and it was easy. So we planned to do the same thing at UConn. Hey, we'll just start with 1 person, and like we were open for about a month and a half until I was getting a call every single day of, Kevin, can you come up here and help? It's too busy. So I just ended up for a while. I tried to move completely to the back end when we opened up UConn, or I did prior to opening up UConn with the plans to stay that way,
Right.
and then UConn opened, and I was essentially, I would do all my work in the back of UConn, all my back end work, so that if there was a second ding, I would go up front,
Right.
until we could hire and train people to take that on. That's why at UConn ended up being a little more difficult than we anticipated. But again, good problems to have
It's a
for
good,
sure.
problems.
Yeah, it was a
And
good
Edmund will
difficult.
probably be similar too, because thinking Norman, that's quite a bit of a initial gamble from distance and from people who understand the brand. When you go to UConn, of course it's considerably, not of course, but you've got UConn people already traveling into Quail-esque. And then you open one up and like, cool, I'm already familiar with you guys. Now you're just super convenient to where we are. Norman, the vast majority of people there are like, who are these guys? Is that what is that over there in the corner? Like you have to build that up. So Edmund, you got so much deep like market already
For
of
sure.
people who know you
For
are.
sure.
That's what we're hoping for. Is it's more like UConn. So I've got a comment and a question. One, Norman was actually really interesting. We run a number of different metrics when we open up a new location to kind of get an idea on where our customers are at. And we knew we had like at least a few customers that were like, yeah, I drive all the way from Norman up to Quail Springs to come see you guys and shop with you. And we're like, that's crazy. Like maybe one day we'll have a location down there. We ran a heat map that was based off of zip codes of where all our current customers are. And there was a little like hot red spot all the way down in Norman. Like it was like real red up at Quail Springs, orange, kind of at getting into Edmond a little bit and North Oklahoma City, and then like yellow beyond that. And then it got orangish red down in Norman. And we're like,
Interesting.
maybe we need to be down there because we are 45 minutes away.
Yeah.
But I was going to ask you guys, what made you guys choose Yukon?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't exactly Yukon. There's two different parts about this. One, calling it Yukon is such a weird.
Yukon
It's
Yukon
so
people don't call this Yukon.
hard up here.
Yeah, it
It's
is
such a weird
kind of an
spot.
in between.
No one has a name for it. No one really claims it or doesn't claim it. It's technically a Yukon address, but it's a Yukon mailing address, but it's actually Northwest OKC, like patrol cop, like it's actual Oklahoma City area.
And anyone who lives over here says that their kids goes to like Piedmont.
Right.
So you're in
It's
like
a mess.
Umont.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's need to call it its own thing.
We keep calling it like randomness.
Yeah.
We're like
We-
Surrey Hills.
We just named
you
it.
know?
We just named it North Yukon, and we've been running a bunch of like pre-sale founding ads, and there's lots of comments. They're like, "What is North Yukon?" I'm
They
like,
just made that up.
yeah, we did just make that up.
We had to.
I feel like the response I would want to have is like, all right, what would you call this?
yeah.
Because I don't know.
It's a
Yeah.
weird area.
It is weird.
It's
yeah.
a weird area.
Yeah.
Because you can't call it Piedmont,
No,
but
you can't
No.
really call it. And if you say
No.
Northwest OKC, you just think Lake Hefner.
yeah.
You do not think way out here.
No.
Right.
But I think if you say North Yukon, at least your brain goes, okay, I know where Yukon is. I think I know where North is. It gives you, we think it's going to be the stickiest, but it's such a weird area out here that's not, I mean, there's going to be so much going around here, considerably more. I mean, it's got so much potential out here. And we've talked to a lot of people who are going to be building around this area. But we didn't choose Yukon.
We really wanted like way East Edmond.
100% wanted East Edmond.
But there wasn't.
We've been eyeing East Edmond
Yeah.
the entire time. We've been eyeing this, but really it was a.
So one day, huh?
That'll be 2026.
Heck yeah.
It was really, we wanted 20-minute drive. That was our radius. We wanted 20-minute circle from where we are now, and we were like, we need to be in that 20-minute drive. We don't want to be closer to 15 minutes because that's going to be too tight, but we don't want to be 25 or 30 because of the amount of marketing we'll have to do to like teach people who we are was going to be such a big jump. And that's why we chose this like 20-minute circle from where we're at now. And this just happened to be on that radar, and it happened to be something we walked through, and we didn't know anything about this area, weren't excited about this area, didn't know anything about the surrounding stuff around this area. We drove by the building and we're like, really like the way it looks, walked inside of it, and we're like,
Had good
Okay.
feels, you know?
Yeah,
you walk
you
into a
instantly
space
know.
and
When
you're
you know,
like,
you know.
all right.
instantly had
Yeah.
good vibes, and like, we can make this work. Start to talk to the landlord. Landlord's awesome, great guy, super
so
awesome.
nice.
That's big.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were like, okay, all right. And so we actually felt the thing that was holding us back about this location wasn't the square footage or the space. It was like we didn't know anything about 5 miles around it. We just didn't know anything about this area. So we would come out here once or twice a week, and we would drive up Expressway, or we would drive down the Turnpike, or we drive out towards Cashin, or we would drive up past Surrey Hills, and we would just drive the entire area going, okay, well, what's down this way? What's down this way? We would take different
I
ways
do the
back
same
every
thing.
time.
Yeah.
Just drive this huge big network of like roads to figure out, oh, does this look like something that would like work?
Yeah. And in a perfect world, if we were to open another location, possibly somebody from our current location would
Right.
want to instruct a couple hours that week to kind
right,
of like sprinkle in some
right.
of that, like,
Yep.
I've already been in the system a while,
Yep.
you know, I know.
Yep.
And literally all of our instructors are like East Edmond, like way East Edmond. Like this would be like 35-minute drive for them.
Yeah. So it was like,
So that was another thing. We were like, man. like, you know,
we're going to have no one that wants to come work here, and we don't know anyone in the area.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we did the same thing. A lot of really cool data, lots of fun tech, lots of creepy tech. There's some really wild stuff out
There's
there.
some wild stuff.
Yep.
Wild stuff.
Yep.
And you're like, whoa, this is like pinging cell
Yeah.
traffic to see where everyone's going. Like you can tell like what the first and second and third like next business that they shop in when they leave your places. Pretty wild stuff.
Yeah.
And so we used a bunch of that tech with our real estate guy and some other like heat mapping and like dropping pins from like where people lived. And sure enough, we plotted everyone that lived that was a student. And like this area was a big circle of people. And we're like, oh, well, that's surprising and interesting. And it turns out I think we're going to have 11 people move 100% into this location from the Edmond location.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Because
okay.
this is like considerably more convenient.
I feel like you want some, but
Yeah.
not too many.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
you
got to
don't
be
wanna-
right on the.
Yeah. If it was over 20%, that would be bad.
Yeah, it's barely 10%.
You know.
Yeah,
roughly.
we always run metrics too on like what percent of sales do we expect to take from the
Mhm.
closest store.
Mhm.
And opening East Edmond was interesting for us. What we anticipated to pull from out to Yukon is more than we anticipate to pull from East Edmond.
Oh wow.
Yeah, even though that location is like almost in like fake Edmond kind of deal.
Fake Edmond.
Yeah.
such a weird
See,
thing.
Edmond
another, like,
mailing, but
labeling, yeah.
Oklahoma City Utilities. Yeah, we'll be in real Edmond finally. So
Real Edmond.
That is an area that may pin north of 150th
It's hard,
area.
yeah.
That whole area is a weird, strange part of town that's not really at the place. But we're kind of
Mhm.
like, we also, now we're coming to that second location, and obviously number 3 is on the list.
You got to
These-
start like kind of setting
Yeah.
things in place to
Right.
as the one is coming together, you kind of get yourself aligned for the next, don't you?
Yeah, yeah.
That's
And
cool to hear.
We kind of like this idea of being in these like pockets that are, because you're setting yourself up for, if you look at the big franchises, you look at the Orange Theory F45s, they're like wanting to be deep center Edmond, right? And we're already far west, and you're like, well, I don't want to go center. I might as well go like far east, like Waterloo and 35 east, like Covell,
Way
Kelly
over there.
east,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
go way out there, because that's a whole big pocket of people that are just not getting, there's no one getting served out here. Like
Yeah.
there's, I think the closest gym is the Crunch down Expressway,
That's like 20 minutes away.
maybe something
Over
like
here?
that.
Yeah.
I think. And then I think there's an Anytime on
Yeah.
There's an
Something
Anytime
over
Fitness
there.
that's probably at least 15 minutes away.
Oh,
something
yeah.
right
Yeah.
there. But there's no instructor led anything.
Prior to that, because we Alyssa and I live just about a couple miles north of that Anytime. Prior to that, because that one just opened up within like the last like year or two.
Mhm.
Prior to that, it was at least a 30-minute drive to get like anywhere. And like we're a little off the turnpike, and it's like weird to get onto the turnpike to go east, and then like the furthest thing west is gyms in Yukon kind of deal. So that is a really good point. We've noticed that living it kind of a little bit more north of here. So
Yeah,
Dang.
it's gonna be it's pretty wild out here. Inside of this curve of the turnpike, that's gonna be developed for a Lowe's.
holy cow.
Yeah.
So that'll be a big staple. Like
Yeah.
that'll attract
Yeah.
other businesses. I mean, they're building neighborhoods out here like crazy.
Crazy.
One really interesting thing too, because we live off Council, you can get on and off of the turnpike to come west, but to go east, you have to go down to Rockwell. So it is so much easier to come this direction if you live off of Council
Mhm.
than it is to go east.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that was why we chose out here.
Yeah.
We just drew a 20-minute circle and basically
This
said,
was in the circle.
okay, let's pick a direction to go to. We were also going to do directly south by 20 minutes. There's a few locations we'd eyed around like May and Hefner-ish window.
Yeah.
That we were like looking, and this space happened to like pop up on the radar. And we're like, oh, let's go check it out. And then we're like, okay, it's the best type of space for us, and we know nothing about the area, so let's dive in. And it's a little bit of a risk because I think we're ahead of the curve by like 2 or 3 years out here.
but a chance to be ahead of any competition.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's cool to hear that you got that the real estate agent helped with picking the area too, and kind of doing that research, because I don't think that's typical or traditionally what real estate agents will do. They might help a little bit with like more particulars, but like Edmond versus North Yukon, it's like I don't think most real estate agents are going to help with that a whole lot.
Yeah, and the demographic was really interesting because we basically dumped all of our full current and past students into some sort of software, whatever it is he uses, and it built buyer persona like avatars off of like the top 3 different types of people that come into the business. So then you can take those 3 types of people, we use 2 basically, And anytime he has a new location, you'd plug the location in and you drop what the buyer personas around that location were, and you could see if they're matching up to our buyer personas as well.
I was going to ask if you guys did research on
Yeah.
demographic out here
Yeah.
or not. Clearly.
Yeah.
What software is that?
I don't know what he has.
I don't know. It's Gym Real Estate.
That's
Okay.
his, like,
Gym
that's
real
his
estate
company.
guy.
Oh, okay, so it's like his like
I'm pretty sure it's licensed.
License.
I'm
Okay,
pretty sure that's like you sign up with him, and that's like part of the service that he gives.
that makes sense. It's
and-
proprietary to what he does.
I think that it's he uses. Oh my goodness, who's the credit score people? What's the three main people that you do like get your credit score from?
Oh, like FICO.
FICO and
I couldn't tell you past FICO.
Isn't there one that starts with a P?
Yeah, whatever that other one
Performia
is.
or something?
No,
Or-
there's another one. Anyway, one of those three, it's one of those it's that company that they built the software for.
Whoa.
It's one of those my
don't know.
goodness, my brain. But it's one of the credit score people, one of those three main brands. That brand is the one who built the software that has all this tech behind it. Yeah.
Probably people that are pretty used to like really diving into people's personal stuff. So
Yeah. It's pretty creepy. But this guy, he talks about, he's like, this is access that like, and in your world, a GNC, which they're never around, and I don't think there's any GNCs around anywhere, right?
they're man.
Is there one at the mall still?
No, that switched to be something else, and then it switched back to a GNC, and then something. I'm not 100% sure on that one.
Yeah, I don't
GNCs are just kind of they kind of are around no matter what. So
Yeah.
but yeah, they I think there's less of. I know like nationwide they've closed a lot of locations. So
Yeah. And I think there's no other, I mean, that was probably the last and only national or I guess global supplement brand, right? There's no
as
one
far
else.
as retail
Yeah.
goes, Vitamin Shop is a little bit more
Oh, yeah, yeah,
national.
I guess
But
Vitamin
But they don't
Shop,
have, they don't have quite the locations. Like I think they've got like 2 in the whole OKC Metro.
Yeah. Well, like a Vitamin Shop, they're not randomly picking a location.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're going to one of these companies and being like, okay, where's the best place for us to put this thing? And then they're running all sorts of like data behind it to like get where they're going. It's not by accident. So some of the smaller guys just happen to have to know a guy who's like doing it to
Right.
because there's no way an Orange Theory doesn't go through a gigantic or an F45 amount of data before they open up a location.
Right. We have we'll see. We did the research for our Edmond location, but we might transition to take a little bit different method for the location after this. We are finding out we might use the piggybacking method of this is just what I'm calling it. I don't think it's like referred to this, but I think it'll make sense when I explain it. We have realized that all of our locations have ended up really close to Target. And we are like, okay, so we're doing all this research.
Mm-hmm.
Target, like you said, also probably does a lot of research when they put a location. Not to mention they're like the Lowe's coming out here, they're a big staple. A lot of businesses will open up around it. It's like, man, what if we skipped all the research and just went by targets?
Yeah.
I think going to be our strategy moving forward.
Yeah, we've always kidded
I love
around
it.
that. Like if we were to go any route, we would just put ourselves right next to every Orange Theory.
Yeah.
Like just wherever they are, just put us right next door.
Have you guys pulled from a lot of Orange Theory people?
We pull from everywhere, so it's not like specifically Orange Theory.
More
but-
just use the piggybacking method. They've got you let their research team do the work.
right. Because
Yeah.
it's gonna be close enough, and then we'll figure out the rest.
Yeah.
But Orange Theory is it's one of them, but really it's pretty much from every other brand we get someone who's just ready to like the next piece in their steps, and they're like, all right, I'm done with that version of group fitness. I want to do something else.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. Which means we could also go next to like literally anyone. You said
Yeah.
competition
Mhm.
earlier, and like currently there's no one in regionally that would be any kind of real competition for us.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be worried about someone coming in and like taking from
No,
you kind of deal.
No,
So
no. I think the only brands that have not made it out here yet, which these are on the rise, which we've never seen in this area, and I don't know if you're too familiar with it, but like the really big semi-private training brands. There's several of them across the country, but a brand like that, there's one in Tulsa called Alloy. and they're a franchise semi-private training. And that would be the closest thing to us that would kind of get us on our heels a little bit to be like, ooh, that's a really tough like competitor to the type of person who wants that type of quality of experience out of something. But everyone else, it just doesn't really, because it's just so different.
It is hard like out here because we are so new to the area that a lot of people, when they're like, Prevail, so is that, it kind of looks like a CrossFit. Is that a CrossFit? You know, it's like that conversation again, or like, it's just hard. It's almost hard to explain.
It is hard
to people like who we are, especially in this area being like new to the area, you know.
I have to do a lot of that again, where you probably got past that a little bit at the first location.
Right. Just explaining who we are, and what we do, and that there's like, and I think, I mean, you see this too, but I think people aren't ready for a professionally well-ran experience inside of fitness and wellness. You know, they've been used to this like version of going and getting supplements that always kind of feels the same, but it's never really polished.
It feels like going into like the shake shop places or something. Like that's what they think, you know?
Yeah, right. They're never really thinking, oh, it's like a really nice, clean, professional environment. And like, you're not used to that experience. So getting people used to that and like getting their like exposure to it is also something brand new for this type of area. Because I'm sure there's a lot of people that in Yukon never had anything remotely close to a triad.
So, man, I think you guys are going to do really, really well out here. Because again, like I've been saying before, Yukon has been our fastest growing location so far. I'm curious if you guys, do you have a different marketing strategy now? Because and what I mean by that is, with first location, obviously, you know, coming from a spot where I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys didn't have the systems you have today, day one with Prevail. So bringing people, getting people in the door and getting them signed up, and it probably looks quite a bit different. So it's as with the first location, with that being the membership being kind of this developed thing of people came on at different stages of marketing. Will there be a different marketing strategy with this location compared to the first location, even as it is right now?
There's definitely been a different marketing strategy, because one of the vast differences, a huge difference from building the last Prevail, was always like build membership base, build system, build equipment, build staff, and everything was like tick, 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 tick. And you just kind of like quarter across all of them all at the same time until it's gone to this like machine that it is now. And then you come over here and you just want to take that entire thing and just dump it at one time. And we're like, oh, wait a minute. We forgot that like we did all those little pieces overlapping over and over and over and over again, even with like equipment purchase. When we were like, all right, let's start really getting some things like organized, and we had some rough ideas, but we got green light. We're like, let's count the kettlebells.
Everything, you know?
I have no clue how many kettlebells we have. So we literally walked around the gym making inventory. It was like 635s and 714, and like going across everything. And then we're thinking, wait, how many bells do we need to order? We need to order 81 kettlebells. So lots of things like that. So for marketing, that's been an adjustment from us. Was it used to be over there, here's how we do things, here's why we do things, here's why we're different, come say hi.
And here's our schedule.
Right. You know, that's kind of like sort of over here. It's been more like waving our hands in the air as loud as possible, just being like, we're coming. And then kind of getting now into a little bit more marketing of like, oh, by the way, this is who we are. And so the layering of it to get eyes and to get attention has been way different than it has in the past. If we would have just led with like, this is why we're different from the get-go, the runway would have been super, super, super slow and very, very long. Right. Because they'd been like, all right, great, you don't do burpees.
Whatever.
What? Who? I never even like, it has been surprising the amount of people who have no clue who we are. It's really, really, really big.
So like we didn't do this a ton. We would do like bring bring a friend like days and stuff like that. But now we've been doing these like VIP sessions and we're going to continue to do them now that we can like run them out of here, where it's like, if you're just on the email list or if you and a friend have been like looking at it, like come in and just like experience Prevail and like see what it's like.
That's been hard too, because normally at the other one, you have something for them to come into. And so when you're trying to market something that's not opened yet, there's nothing for them
like,
to come into. They're like, we don't have a clue who you are, what you look like, what it's like inside of there. Like we have nothing. We have no idea.
Can you come to the Edmond location?
Yeah, I was going to ask, have you done any of that? Like bringing people out? That's nice that you guys have that location. That's convenient enough to.
So we've held a couple VIP sessions to where we let the email list from here know, hey, noon on Saturday, we're going to do a session just for people on this list. It won't be anyone else. It'll only be you guys, which also helps us not. We didn't water down the experience, but we definitely took away a lot of like the technical, really geeky, kind of in-depth stuff that we love about the Prevail system. We kind of like skirted it off the side. Like, let's just give you like the bare bones, like the meat and potatoes of what Prevail is, and give you an experience that can be something that's different and be like, oh, okay, without getting way dive.
Like we're not making people do Turkish get-ups. Coming in for a VIP session when
Still
they haven't
feels like
done
Prevail, but it's not like
onboarding,
full on, like the slower, like meticulous version of Prevail.
Yeah.
So we've been doing a lot more of those, and now we're hitting this bump in the road where the amount of people who have kind of known about us, we're taking advantage of the VIPs. Now the VIP sessions then aren't working anymore, so we're sending that to a list, and no one's raising their hand, and we're having more one-on-one conversations with people, and they're like, I'm not driving half an hour to go see if I want to do, like, if I like this thing or not. And
so now we need to do them in here.
Right. So that's been why we've been cranking. We've been pushing so hard because, like, man, we really need to start making these like one-off, and there's no schedule here either yet. It's like, you can't just say reserve a time to come in at Wednesday night because there's nothing there.
Right.
So you kind of have to make up these like standalone one-offs to be like, hey, come see it. We're going to hold 15 spots for the, let us know, raise your hand. And it's just going to be you Thursday night at 6 p.m. And that'll be our next piece of marketing. So a lot of it has been a huge shift in just hard exposure just to get in front of us. And like scaling and systems, we talk about how much of Prevail is Prevail and how much of it is Sean and Dani, which is a tough conversation to have of like, is it
Kevin
us
is triad,
or is it or is it the thing is by itself? You know? That's like really hard to think. Is triad really that great, or am I really that great? Because you don't want it to be you.
We'll find out.
We'll find out. We think triad is great, but we think you're great too. So that's hard.
But that's, I mean, that's what we're working on a lot now too. Is like as we become further and further removed, is we've had a buddy that uses this analogy a lot of, as you guys remove yourself even more to the point where it's like, well, as much time as you were having to spend away from being on the floor at the first location, it's like you're going to have to split that even more with 2 now. So you have to have more steps in the leadership. You're going to have more, it'll be, twice as big a staff essentially, at least at one point. And it becomes you're now having a copy of a copy, because I'm sure you guys probably did a decent amount of, or were closely related to a lot of the training with the staff that's there. It's like, I'm going to guess you guys are probably not going to be doing all of the training with all of the employees here, or am I wrong on that?
You're wrong on that.
I am wrong. You guys are doing all the training?
Yeah.
Good for you guys. That's awesome.
Well, and it's also it's also because it's the requirement to make it happen. It's not the most idealistic. It's not the most scalable. It's not the best for the big picture for the long term.
Because people at our Edmond location could definitely do it.
Yeah, for sure. We have staff at Edmond.
And that'd be tempting to do, I'm sure.
They could do it and have the capability to do it, and
they would be
definitely could really smash like onboarding new instructors. We have the staff there to do that. We have skills over there to do that. But we were at such a point where like, we don't want to distract them anymore because they're doing such a phenomenal job over there, and that place grows not with or without us, but everyone on staff there is so awesome. But they've all had so much reps. They've been there as a student for a while. They've been there as an instructor for a while. They've been in the brand for a long time. And you come over here, the staff that's coming over here, we have one full-time Kylie. You know,
I heard
Kylie.
about that. Yeah.
Yep,
That's super
Kylie.
cool. She'll be
Yeah.
great here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
We're excited.
today was her like first full like official day from her like her last gig, and she just basically did manual
I'm like,
labor all
sorry,
day.
it's gonna be gross. We've got
Yeah,
stuff to
just
move.
manual
That's
labor.
that is what it is sometimes. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, part of it.
Yeah.
And then we'll have 2 other like part-time people, but all 3 of them have they're all going to be brand new instructors. One of them will be a veteran student, so she's been in the brand for a couple of years, so she's got some deep knowledge of the brand.
Yeah.
But the other 2 are new to Prevail, from like a student side and from professional side. So those 2 are like deep into it. And so when I say
Emily's
us
another one,
training-
right? Emily Apollonio. Did she come on board?
No.
Oh, sorry.
No.
No, it's fine.
No.
But she's fine.
Yeah.
We like her. She's got a lot going on.
She's got
herself.
a lot going on.
Yeah.
A lot going on.
Yeah.
Oh man, where did I get sidetracked?
UConn.
Yeah. So training them, we're like, if we need to have the greatest impact on these new trainers with us, because there's no one's going to be able to teach them intensely or as fast as we can to get them ready to go. And that'll be something for location 3, where it's like, if we have better planning, we have a better runway, it'll be like, well, who can we really put in place that's really going to love doing this, who will want to do this, that isn't us doing it? And if we would have asked any of them to like, you need to like onboard these next 4 to 6 people in the next 4 weeks, they'd be like, when am I going to do that?
When am I going to do my regular job?
When do I sleep?
Right. They're like, I need to spend another 5 hours a week in training new instructors on top of you training. They'd be like, well, no, I'm not going to like crank that hard for 4 weeks. And we're like, we only have 4 weeks. So we're going to do it, and we're going to push hard.
You guys might be the only ones willing to do that here, kind of deal. So.
Yeah, because we had to do that late too. We had to wait until the entire room in Edmond was empty to bring in instructor training and to train them up after hours, after all the sessions were taught.
Or
to
on
have the
like
room.
Sundays or Saturday afternoons from like 3 to 6 or whatever,
Right.
you know.
We're
I mean,
there till like 6 or 7 p.m. on a Saturday training one weekend.
And we would never want anybody else like from another location to feel a burnout from doing extra to like help build up the next. You know what I mean? If they just have the capability, like a couple people came out on Saturday to help, which was amazing. But like, we
put a little
expect
skin
them
in the
to do
game,
it.
but not
Yes.
burn them out.
No.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Perfect.
Because they don't. It isn't, their burnout isn't necessary.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
No, we want to keep
it's-
everyone fresh. We
Right.
can be a little burnt out.
We can be
but-
burnt out. Keep everyone else as fresh.
You
as
know, you guys will
possible.
stick around even if you get burnt out temporarily. So
Yeah, we're not good. We don't have anyone to be pissed off to. Of like,
yeah.
tired and burnt out. We're
Right.
like,
We
it's
can
ourselves.
do. We
It's
can
our
do
own
quit.
fault. I know.
I'm out.
I'm gonna get a different job.
Job. Yes. Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my
So we'll be training. And we'll probably be on. Well, maybe we may or may not be on the floor. Starting out here too.
Nice.
A little bit, which is tough because we want. I mean, everyone will be great, but it's like when you want the impact of like the experience of what Prevail is, and we know the DNA so intimately, you're like, I want to hit people in the face with this early and fast, because now the growth strategy changes from like exposure to you telling your friends about us. And you can't have that you tell your friends about us unless you've had this like, oh man, it was really, really great. Because we all sell push-ups and sell protein powder. That's all the same. Like, but it's not the same because you're really trying to recreate and you're trying to have a very unique experience for every customer. And that's what's different about like, it's the experience to the customer. It's not the push-up. It's not the protein powder inside the bucket. Like, that's not really what we're doing here.
Yeah. What is it? Customer satisfaction is worthless.
Right.
Like you have to go above and beyond to truly build someone into a loyal member and someone that tells their friends. So, I think that'll be one big to the thing that keeps sticking out in my head as you talk about this. I think the thing that will pay off long term about you guys doing that, because I know it is, like I said before, we're really tempting to probably try and have other people do the training, because you probably have people that are prepared to do even at least some of that.
Sure.
Is on top of not burning out your current staff, on top of giving all of those first members that true Prevail experience, I think that will help with your guys' culture long term.
Yeah.
Because the coaches here and potentially even some of the people that will become coaches, I'm sure some of those first members might, kind of be on that board.
Yeah.
I think them learning directly from you guys is
Right.
they are now a copy of the original. They're
Right.
they're not a copy of the copy, which is
Right.
that saying that our friend had a lot, is trying to make a copy of a copy can be difficult, which is honestly kind of where we're at now, and why we've dedicated a lot of Thomas's extra time to putting so many systems in place for, especially within our training, to make sure that it is just as clear cut as possible. And then that when someone gets out of training, they are just ready to go, that the systems are there to produce rock solid employees.
Right.
Because I'm trying to think, the newest employee right now, that just started on the floors, guys, his name's Luke. I've only met him like twice, which is crazy. He got trained by a guy named Christian, who's our Norman manager. Christian got trained by, I think, Preston. Preston got trained by Thomas. And Thomas did my training, so it helps to have him in the mix there. So he's a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy.
Mm-hmm.
But luckily, Luke got to go through at least some of what we've implemented on our customer service and even within our testing and our education side of things, he's apparently doing pretty well. So
Nice.
There you go.
yeah, but I think you guys doing that, it's having, as you work to a point where those systems become more necessary, having more people that learned are a copy of the original helps set that system have that system be taken seriously, and can even help build that system in the first place. Because that's been a lot of like our education is Preston. He's the one writing our textbook. We have a whole training rubric now.
Cool.
And Thomas, that's putting our customer service training together. We do an oral exam now, which we didn't used to do. We want to be sure that you can actually not just write information on a page, that you can talk to people and help them out.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it's been a really cool experience for me, because I've done actually not much work at all.
Nice.
I've just kind of worked with the direction of both of them and make sure they kind of coincide a decent amount. But it's because Thomas and I, Thomas did my training, so I've got so much trust in Thomas. It's crazy. And Thomas did Preston's training. So them two being the two that are kind of working on our systems that got to, have a little bit more direct influence from me, gives me a lot of trust in them building those systems in the first place.
Yeah.
So having more people like that, I think is long term will pay off so much.
Yeah. And we've been thinking also in the opposite, in the same direction, is the people that are in place to do things to that you can leverage and to move forward. What if there's other, if me training new instructors is my greatest superpower, then maybe it's not the smartest thing for me to make a system for it. Maybe it's just to make room. That's the only thing I do. If there's other things that are getting taken care of, and that's just the one thing inside of Prevail that I'm left with, is just keep making these really awesome, great instructors and keep repeating that. And then other things that I do now, well, maybe those aren't the best things for me to do that someone else could do. Instead of saying, well, let me get rid of that thing and have someone else do it as well. And not that we have a decision either way, but it could be that way. And it could be, she always gives me a hard time about programming. And we build all the programs as a team every quarter. Everyone comes together. We build the entire thing out for the next 3 months. We all get dinner and we just get a whiteboard out and sketch everything out and make it sense and put all the things, all our principles behind it. But honestly, it's if I wasn't there, could it still happen? And it could probably still happen at 90%. But that last 10% of it really having the little nuances of things that work on top and the things you think about and just the reps of things that I've seen for so long. She's like, are you going to continue to do this? There's 7 Prevails. Are you still going to be in the program design? Like, you're going to have to get yourself out of there.
Because he does the program design and then the videos. I mean, that's a big part of it too.
Yeah.
You know,
like I create all of the templates
of videos
so that
for all the instructors can see.
Right. So if
the
there's
best
a
way
program,
to like lead
like
that session.
Tomorrow's session in Edmond, which will be here too. It'll be the same thing. So it'll be literally like what happens Monday is happening Monday at all locations. Tuesday, everything's going to be the same. So that way it's all on the same schedule and the same paces. And like the strength weeks everything can set in the same patterns. Communications can stay consistent, all that things. Yeah. Is that, am I always going to be the one? So like an instructor, they were there when they built the day A or day whatever tomorrow is going to be. And there's a full Excel with all the data behind it, all the numbers behind it.
Excel.
And then there's
Google Drive.
Then there's a YouTube video of me explaining it, going over nuances, going over if you see this and if you see this.
Progressions, regressions of each pattern.
Think about this when you're saying this, look for these pieces when you're going over here. Is that truly is that still going to be the thing that I do once a quarter?
Yeah.
Like over and over and over and over again? That's tough.
Yeah. Do you think that either of those things, like is there anything in particular, like do you plan on doing new instructor training for as long as you can? Like do you plan on holding on to that and passing off other things? Or are there like...
Well, we want to, and we did this 2 instructor trainings ago, is that we split it. So we had 2, I think we had 3 instructors teach, and it's basically 12 sessions to onboard. Like that's basically what it comes down to. So I think there was like 3 to 5 of those sessions that other instructors taught, and then I taught like the 6 or 7 left. This time we were in a speed situation where we just taught everything ourselves. But I think in the next one, if with a better runway, that it would try to be at least half and half.
I think each of the girls taught one.
This time or last time?
Tori, Whitney, Marcy. All taught one this time.
This time.
Yeah.
3. So there's more last time then.
Yeah. There was more last time, but there was less people.
Yeah.
So only 3 people. Yeah. We had about 10.
Too many. Lesson learned. Don't do that.
You gotta learn those lessons along the way.
Do not do that. That was a big test.
But I think I mean you're hitting on things that like make a lot of sense, that I think could be good of like you being the one that directly influences the people that are the coaches here, or and even the ones that have been around for a while. You're the one that's directly influencing the programming and how to follow it. Mine is definitely a little bit more unique. It's funny you talking about this. I'm like, oh yeah, I definitely have those things as well. Mine can be a lot more niche. There's some bigger things, like I'm like still very much in charge of the budget and finances and whatnot, which is something I never thought I would enjoy as much as I do. Thomas is better when it comes to employee training and setting systems for our customer service, like so much better. You can tell he gets fired up when working on that stuff. And I get fired up being able to just kind of be like on the sidelines, like kind of working with him. But like the actual work itself is like, it doesn't light me up like it lights him up. So he is just taken and run with that. Same with like, when it comes to ingredients and the science and whatnot, it's something that like I do genuinely enjoy, but just not nearly as much as Preston, which is why he is our head of formulations with Define Nutrition. And we have just built so much trust of like, put it together, explain it to me, and then I'll give it a check mark. I'll sign off on it kind of deal. And he's in charge of like again, we undertook writing a textbook maybe about a month ago, and I think he's like halfway done with this. Like it will be like a couple 100-page textbook.
That's awesome.
And it's one of those things that just it lights him up kind of deal. So it's like the education and the training and the customer service, which are big core elements of our business. It's like we have some other people that are genuinely better at it. I have some bigger things, but there's also some like really weird niche things that it's just like I just am kind of the best at, but I think they can make a big difference. Like one really funny one is our Define Nutrition labels. I'm the one that still puts the graphics together for the flavor. Like I don't formulate the product. I'm involved with flavor testing, but that's very much a group effort. And there are a lot of decisions that are made maybe with a little bit of my influence, but I'm the one that puts the picture for the flavor together. But to be honest, that has like made a really big difference in some of our products. I've done it for so many products, and it's kind of one of those weird little niche things that I enjoy that I think I've gotten pretty good at it. We kind of started to pass it over to Ryan a little bit because he's really experienced with the programs it takes to make those graphics. And I think he was enjoying it, but not as much as I was. And he started to get really busy with some other projects and things that really light him up a lot. That we ended up passing it back over to me, and I'm like, okay, I do really like this.
I'm gonna keep this one.
Yeah. So like, I'm like, it's like, I'm like, check. This is funny. This is a month or two ago, but it was like, Thomas and Preston is like, you know, I'm having meetings with them, and they're like discussing the things that they're doing for our like new employee onboarding and like continued education and like all these big things. And I'm like, I just spent 3 hours working on a picture of sour candy.
But that's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, that's how it goes.
And I know some people like, we understand this. We talked about the communication with like contractors and the people and everyone along the way, right? And it's also crazy that like the expectation for like such specific standards of like an excellence inside of a little tiny piece, they're only things that you really, really care about. Everyone else is like, fuck, just put a lemon on there, move on.
Right.
And you're like, no, but the
it's
lemon.
Important.
Are you sure if it's going to be a ripe lemon, but it's going to be a brighter lemon, but I don't want it to look like a fake lemon, but it's not going to look like plasticky lemon either. But also some people don't like things that are super sour, like all those tiny little things
100%
into an image. And you're like, no, that matters. And it matters a bunch because it's the first thing they're looking at. I'm like, just put a lemon on there.
100%. I think a great
hard.
example of this is, I'll brag maybe a little bit, but our Define Icelet peanut butter puffs, it was originally, we were going for just like a chocolate peanut butter flavor, and you know, we were thinking, you know, we'll just do like a chocolate peanut butter cup on there and like really kind of just lean into it being a little bit just the most like generic, like chocolate peanut buttery kind of like flavor that we can think of, because we like to keep things simple, keep them basic. But then we tweaked or messed around with some actual flavoring that was like from the manufacturer of like, no, we want to go the direction of more of a peanut butter puffs and be a little bit more unique. And they nailed it pretty well. And we're like, that's pretty good. But the thing that I think really sold it is I spent a lot of time just even looking up or trying to find stock images of Reese's Puffs. Might have to redact that off of this, but it was really hard to find a good picture, and then I had to edit so much into that with like the milk splashing out and like some peanut butter cups on the side. So it kind of I had to edit the colors because it like the colors were too close. I probably shouldn't say this, but like the picture that I found looked more like dog food than it did Reese's Puffs.
Yeah.
So I had to go in and like separate all like the light and the dark ones to be able to make more contrast and make it more obvious that it was chocolate and peanut butter. And I was like, okay, that looks like Reese's Puffs. Like the original image looks like dog food, but it was all those little things. And it is our most popular flavor of protein that we've ever had by like a lot. So, and I think the flavor is good, but I think it's the picture that like it gets you in the first place.
It's worth it. It was worth it. See, it was worth it.
And that's like, that's the thing I'm going to love. And I think I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And I also think things like, I take all of this risk and all this energy, and everyone talks about like, you know, don't let the business run you, or all those cliches about like being a small business owner is so hard, and whatever. Like it's still something you volunteer to do, but you put all those things into it and you're like, well, if I'm going to build this gigantic machine, I might as well like turn the one thing that I really love turning.
That I think is the coolest part is you get to kind of pick where you end up in the long term.
Right.
You end up having to do a lot of to get to that point. I think you have to do a lot of stuff that a lot of jobs you don't want to do, but you can eventually work your way into like I get to pick what job I have here.
Yeah.
So
right. Yeah. You have to earn that ability.
Oh my gosh, yes you do.
You have to bleed sweat for that to earn that ability. That's for sure. Yeah. Like the branding
a whole
stuff.
bunch of jobs you don't want to do first.
That'd be something like we went through a brand refresh last year. Was that last year? We went through a brand refresh, and we found ourselves spending so much time and energy with the branding things, which we love because
we do love.
We're kind of like artist people. And that's what I meant to ask. You have more artist in you than you do like practical, like machine part of you.
Yeah.
Would you consider yourself in a ratio of type A to type B? What would your numbers be?
I'm very much naturally a type B person.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
much more of
Right,
an artist than like an
Yeah.
engineer.
Yeah.
I have learned to be an engineer, like
Right.
getting into business has like
Right.
forced me to become more of an engineer.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, like a little bit more like a robot.
Yeah.
But I've enjoyed it. Like
Yeah.
I would say I am very much more a type A person than a type B person now. But like when I was a kid, I was not a type A person at all.
Yeah. We find more and more people that we talk to that are these like entrepreneurs, these like business owner people that you would cliche think that these are type A driven people. But more and more and more conversations we have, they're rarely a type A person and they're a type B, because type B are the only ones who can weather the storms.
They like the chaos a little bit.
Because they don't,
Yeah.
they can get outside of all the super strict 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7s. And
Yeah.
they're like, whatever. I don't know. I'm going to keep weaving in and out. And the type Bs are the ones who can like weave in and out of it. And they have to teach themselves to be successful. I have to teach myself the skills of a type A person. But type A people do not do good as an entrepreneur, generally speaking. It's like, you can't speak in an absolute.
Sure.
But more and more people would talk to, like, you would think a business owner, especially in our industry, like wouldn't consider themselves as artists. But that's the only reason that we've gone to where we've been able to do is because we're treating it like an art.
I mean, even just finding a new location where you talk about like metrics, you can get into analysis paralysis so easy with looking at all the data of finding a new location. But like at the end of the day, you still have to make a decision, and you gotta be a little bit of an artist to be able to hey, this is where we're going and this is what the strategy is going to be.
Yeah.
Kind of
And
deal.
be okay like changing things on the fly.
Yeah.
I think that's like
Oh
the
my
biggest
gosh.
thing is just
Yeah.
like knowing like, okay, that was not the right move. What
Right.
what is the next move? We won't do that again. And moving on.
Right. And that was with our brand refresh. It was like, we keep spending so much time being artists that it's distracting from the non-artist things that we're not good at, that's not moving the machine forward.
Even though it was
Yeah.
the fun stuff.
It was the fun stuff, but it's
But
been
it's
like,
fine.
we've got to get something that's someone else tells us what to do and tells us what not to do so that we can run this playbook, because we can't run our own anymore. We need a boss in this part to like, no, stop touching, stop jacking with all of it. Just do this. Don't do anything else. Run that play and don't touch it. And it's allowed us a lot of freedom to like get back and take over some things that we're slacking that we have to get back. We need to. But it would be nice to be able to go, it'd be really fun to have the energy and the capacity to be like, I would really love to spend some time designing the next shirt.
Yeah.
So
are you guys having to lean more on the like the engineering side of things more than the artist brained right now? Like, is that
Well, in
Okay.
this moment, for
in this
sure.
for
moment.
sure, way more
with
of
a
it.
new location,
Yeah.
with having to replicate all the stuff that you have, all the systems you have with the first, I'm sure. Yeah. I feel like there's seasons to it.
There's definitely pieces and parts. I mean, just like the art on the wall was like, it scratched that itch, but we felt ourselves like spending time.
Too much time.
People probably have no clue how many hours we spent staring at this wall at 9:00 at night with a projector and our artist Bo going, well, I don't know. Maybe it should be down a little bit. No, maybe it should be smaller. Maybe it should be over a little bit. Maybe it should be down a little bit.
Yeah.
How many colors of grays will that be? Like hours. And I was thinking, man, is
We
this
want his
really the
eyes
best-
blue,
Is
but
it 10 o'clock on a Tuesday our best time right now to go over these tiny details with this lion on the wall?
But he turned out perfect, so
He
it was
did,
worth
yes.
it. It was worth it.
But it's
Yes.
hard.
But,
It's hard
yeah,
to fight that
it is
when
hard
you're
to
like,
fight that.
I need to bolt shit together.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should-
100%.
We should get back to bolting things together.
Yeah. That is one thing that I think I have gotten at least a little bit better at. And it's another, I'm finding that I do really well when I'm just forced into situations. I learn a lot of those. I don't usually prepare really well. That's probably why I wasn't a good student.
Yes.
Same over here. He does not prepare.
Yeah. Throw me into a situation where I gotta learn on the go.
Yeah.
I'll do pretty well. I think I'll hold my own, you know?
Yeah.
But that is one thing I think I've gotten a lot better at since Riley's been around, is because I've just had such limited time. A big part is that Riley comes to the warehouse with us every day. So we've got her, every single day. And we've gotten a better schedule and system now between Alyssa and I, where I'll have her tomorrow and Alyssa will stay home and do whatever she needs to do. And Alyssa takes her on Wednesday and I go to a coffee shop and I get stuff done. But there's a lot of weeks where it's like I get maybe 2 hours in the middle of the day when Riley naps. And then maybe Wednesday, as long as I don't end up having too many like meetings or errands or whatever I need to do on Wednesday, because that's like my only day, that I have really learned to condense as so much. I've gotten so much more efficient. And
that's because of Riley.
Because of Riley. Yeah. And I'm really glad I've learned these skills, because I am so notorious for spending way too long on too many tiny details. That's very much me to a fault. It would take me way too long to complete tasks. But I think the detail orientedness, I think having that is there's some benefits there, and I think it's still there. But having to condense like all of my work within 2 hours some days, or all of my week's worth of work into 6 hours at a coffee shop an entire week, is I gotta be able to make really quick decisions really quickly to move on to the next thing. It's again kind of forced me into this situation that I've gotten better at trusting other people in their decisions and not double checking and making sure that I think that they're making the right decision. And I've gotten a little bit better at trusting my gut of like, all right, what looks the best? Okay, move on. And most of the time it's worked out well. I've flirted the line a little bit as far as like, I did that one a little too fast, but now I know where the line is. So
now I know.
Yeah. That is something that we are, with pregnancy, is something we're terrified of, is we have been so used to
having a non-schedule.
Our non-schedule pace of the two of us has been just so normalized for so many years that it's like, ooh, this is going to be a tough shift to like really be on an actual schedule.
Yeah, because I find comfort like in almost ending the day on my computer a little bit.
Okay.
You know, like at night. And I'm like, that's going to be different.
Yeah.
You know, like you would want to be present with your kid, right? In the evenings.
Right.
And like not wake up first thing in the morning and like open your laptop. And,
you
know, I mean, there's going to be like things on like, okay, like my time is going to have to be managed differently.
Yeah, and you and Alyssa had a very similar shift of like just the you of you. Like, and when did she become full-time into Triad?
Beginning of 2019.
Okay.
So yeah, she's been on board for 6 years now.
Yeah. So she was, what the math is, 4 years, just two of you in Triad, right? No other jobs, no other kids.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So that's a big shift to like 3+ years of just you two, and then whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Not just us two.
So are you guys saying that you have a schedule now, or you don't have a schedule?
We
now?
have no schedule.
Yeah. And then you're going to have the schedule.
We're going to have a schedule. Yeah. Because right now we can work whenever we like want to work.
Right.
Yeah.
We like working, and you know.
That's really interesting. Do you guys do any kind of like time blocking or any kind of, it's just
no.
Good for you guys. I can't do that. Even with stepping, I'm guessing that probably became a lot more of a thing when you guys moved to being off of the floor and not coaching, right?
Yes.
I've never been able to do it.
He's never been able to time block, but our time was managed differently when we had set like hours on the floor.
Right. There were some boundaries and there were some blocks. There was some kind of like
somewhat of a schedule.
There were some lanes that we kind of had to like bounce around inside of that generally made us kind of like go in right directions. Being off the floor, there was just no boundaries at all. Didn't matter, which took a little bit of a bounce back to go, whoa, wait a minute. I better give myself some boundaries. But I've never been able to time block ever. I've tried it like 4 or 5 times and I fail at it over and over and over again.
Well, you're going to have a new challenge coming.
And my brain I can't wrap my brain around it.
Well, maybe here's a small piece of like good news. I have had to time block less now with Riley than I did before. I am a person that I will schedule out every 15 minutes of my day. Again, not like that naturally. Never touched a planner that was given to me in high school. But when, especially kind of going back and forth with being in store and not being in store, but also having like all of the back end responsibilities, especially when original partners were first leaving, was I didn't know what to work on when and what should take priority, what's urgent, what's important, what do I do when do I stop working, or do I just stay up as late as I can and I fall asleep? So I slowly got to the point where I got really particular, and I still do that. I write my schedules on Sundays, and I write my entire to-do list for the entire week on Sundays. Luckily I've got some templates and it makes it a little easier. I can knock it out in about a couple of hours, but that was definitely a tough thing for me with Riley of especially when she was a newborn. It was like, she's going to be napping and waking up and changing. And I'm going to have to go, sometimes hours at a time without being able to check my phone. And I had to transition to writing my schedule of like, I could pull it up right now, and there's certain parts of certain days that's like Riley duty. Don't plan to do anything here.
Right.
Yeah.
There's been a couple of people that they've told us, they're like, you guys are so used to chaos that you guys are just gonna be fine. It'll just be just another implement.
You guys will be great
into your chaos.
Yeah.
Oh, that still sounds.
Yeah, because at some point I'm like, she is probably going to need a schedule.
So it's worked out, at least for me personally. Right, Alyssa is big on. She really took the reins on writing the schedule, and I think she really wanted to. And it's like, just let me know what it is, and if anything changes, and I'll work that into my schedule and be good. So
yeah. I mean, biggest advice for the first 3 months?
Help.
I don't know. I hesitate on giving advice. But
I mean, if someone...
Why? Because people gave you a lot of advice that you didn't want to hear.
No, I think I was really good. I prepped myself a lot. I like that you guys asked, because I prepped myself a lot. I still even do going into the second one of like, especially when I'm talking to other parents, is like, what advice would you give? And then it gets my mind ready. Like if they were like had a unwarranted advice locked and loaded, I'm at least a little bit more ready for it, kind of deal.
Maybe advice isn't the best word, because that's so there's so much context there. But I think what would be if you were to set an expectation of the 3 months, if you were to like frame that expectation, how would you like talk about that first 3 months
for people that have no clue?
Expectation from yourself.
Expectation from. Elaborate on that one.
Like if you were to say,
well, you're about to do it again.
You're about to do it again, but you've got the reps in it. Like if you were to say, either do or do not expect this from yourself out of the first 3 months. If it was like not an advice of things to do or not to do, but if you were to put yourself into a specific, if you were to put yourself into a type of headspace for those first 3 months, as to be better prepared.
I guess one thing that really helped me was remembering how important this other human is. And not in the sense of like to put a lot of pressure, where I think, I guess, all right, I've got two answers. One is you end up knowing more than you think you're going to know.
Okay.
Where I read some books, and we did like some like procedural like classes on like how to change a diaper and baby CPR and stuff like that. So it's like we're prepared for. But we didn't do like, we didn't over prepare by any means. But I think. All right, now I'm getting all kinds of ideas in my head to pass along. So, but first 3 months is you'll know what to do more than you think you will. Kind of deal. At least that was my experience, and like I remember still in the hospital. and the nurses are still very much taking care of Riley. And I'm like, I've held her like a couple of times in a blanket, and the nurses are like, oh, looks like she needs a diaper change. Like, Dad, you up to the task? And I'm like, no. I watched a video once, but it was like, I don't know, changing a diaper isn't that hard. Like, it's not rocket science. So it's like, I feel like I did a pretty decent job. And I don't know, it's a lot comes more naturally than you think. So it's, but remembering that this person depends on you and is so much more important and so much more special than anything else in your life, that it's easy to not get stressed about small stuff. Like, I remember Riley, when she was still just within her first 3 months, is she spit up and it got like all over a brand new shirt that I had, which, like, that sucks. But it's like, Riley is so much more important than this fucking shirt that I'm wearing right now. Like, fuck this shirt. That it was, I don't know, and you could take that to like way bigger extremes as well, is that she's so much more important than so many other little things, as like so much more important than my little bit of sleep. It's so much more important than the house being clean or me sticking to my schedule, or, you know, it's they depend on you completely. And it's like, again, yeah, not to add pressure, because it's like it comes more naturally than you anticipate, or that at least I anticipated. But yeah, to remember to not stress out about when like things that don't really concern her happen, or like when problems happen. So
yeah, I'm terrified.
You guys are honestly gonna do great.
We don't even have a dog.
Not
that I would compare a kid and a dog, but you know what I mean? Like, another responsibility that you're keeping alive at home.
I would say running a business is more similar to raising a kid, at least from 0 to 1.5, because that is my extent of my experience. Running a business is more similar to raising a child than having a dog. Dogs are so easy. I'm gonna make some like dog parents mad. We have 2 dogs at home and we love them to death. So.
Yeah. It's just way.
I keep telling him, I'm like, we should just get a dog now, because a puppy and a baby at the same time. I mean, how cute.
That's, my parents did that. My dad didn't tell my mom, and I think he came home with a dog a month before I was born. A dog was awesome. It was.
Oh, you enjoyed that.
That was awesome.
Yeah. No. No, I don't want another responsibility.
That's true.
No,
That's true.
we have this responsibility.
No.
I will say one of the things I read this. There's a whole book on it, and I'll have to find the name of it. It was passed to me by a friend of ours, Sean Vasquez, Pride Foods. Gave me the book, Father of Two. He's awesome. It's the big. I think this applies for a little bit more when they get a little bit older, but it has helped me a lot. Is the difference between what's the metaphor they use? Laying leather on the ground for your child to walk on and not hurt their feet, versus letting them build their own moccasins. The one that like really clicked for me more was, it's less about directing exactly where your child should go, but just letting them be a person and creating guardrails where when they're really young, guardrails are really small, because they can't even walk or crawl or eat themselves. So you have to, keep them very small. But as they get older, you get to widen them up a little bit to where, as they're walking around, is like, let them get into whatever they're going to get into, as long as they're not about to like seriously injure themselves. That's where you put the guardrails of, hey, we're not going to let you seriously injure yourself. But outside of that, you've got free range. And that helped me a lot of like, okay, I can be guardrails. Like I can do that.
Right.
But and I can't remember if this book went into it or not, but it's more about like your kids will replicate what you're doing more than what you're teaching them, or like trying to directly teach them anyway. So focus more on being the guardrails. So that one made me feel a whole lot more comfortable. I was like, I can do that.
Nice. Right. Setting just a better expectation of yourself. If like, just keep the thing alive.
Yeah,
You'll be all right. It'll be fine.
Yeah,
she'll be fine.
Babies are
She'll
pretty
be
resilient.
fine.
They're more resilient than you think. So
Good.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah. See, they're basically rubber.
yeah.
Just bounce around on things. The squeaky little rubber things.
Oh, my squeaky. He just called it squeaky.
They'll just squeak a
Oh
bunch.
my gosh.
Okay. There you go. Well, there's 3 months. And then just don't sleep. That's probably the last one.
Oh yeah. Don't stress about getting sleep. If you stress about trying to get sleep, it'll make you more stressed. So
Oh, good.
Right.
Just go
Yeah.
into it knowing.
Just take a bunch of naps.
if you just know like, hey, I'm just going to appreciate any sleep that I get, but I'm sure you guys have some of that being business owners that you are a little bit more prepared for that.
I don't know.
Maybe.
We get good sleep.
We kind of
We go to bed late, but
we built a designed life around
getting good sleep.
getting good sleep.
So you guys are, at least right now, you are pretty spoiled with sleep.
Yeah.
Have you had to go through phases where you weren't sleeping?
Yes.
just during like adventuring.
Yeah.
Well-
So you guys have done things that like you have will
in the
prepare
first
you
like
for it.
3
We've
years at the
been-
old studio, we did not
I mean,
sleep.
back in the day, we
Yeah.
definitely did
It
not
was
sleep
like-
that much.
yeah.
We cranked back. That was years and years and years ago.
So I was definitely in the same. I think I mentally prepared for the first 3 months. I definitely was really spoiled on my sleep before Riley. Like I was like reading a bunch of pages of my book at night and getting 8 hours, perfect time going to bed and waking up kind of deal. And I knew like newborn, okay, I'm not going to sleep. Like I was ready for that. But then we kind of got through one of like the sleep regressions and like a little bit out of the newborn stage. And then we kind of started hitting this, that stage again where I think the business was taking a lot out of me or was requiring a lot from me, and I was trying to get all my work done during the day, but then I wasn't helping as much as I should with Riley, and I was like, I was going back to getting spoiled on sleep again. I need to bite the bullet and stay up late, and that's work while Riley's asleep kind of deal for a little bit. So I'm spoiled on my sleep again right now.
Oh,
though.
good.
So
Good for you.
it comes
Good
and
for
goes,
you.
but I've had to get mentally prepared to like, I even said this to Alyssa at one point. I was just like, I was getting spoiled on my sleep. I need to stop being a baby. I got it. So
It's going to be hard. This sleep's going to be hard.
the sleep's going to be pretty
You'll be
difficult.
fine.
We'll be fine. We've done lots of things sleepless in our lives.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
you
not the
did.
first time
yeah, how much do you sleep during Moab?
6 hours.
in 4 days.
And you'll sleep more than that.
Training.
You will,
That's good.
You will sleep more than that.
That sounds
You
good.
won't be
Yeah.
hallucinating.
Because I was hallucinating the whole time. Yeah, so that's good.
Yeah. If you start hallucinating, pass the baby to Sean.
Right. Pull the emergency brake.
Just call Kevin.
Okay, pull the emergency brake. There's hallucinations.
Call
We
Kevin.
gotta do something else about this.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well-
Okay. Well, speaking of Riley, you probably have like a family to go home to.
Yeah, I think I don't usually get to see her on podcast night. She's got a bedtime about 7:30. So
Okay.
Alyssa's got I spend a lot of time with her on Mondays because of that. So
Nice.
but I see that the sun's going down, the street lights are probably coming on, so mom's probably
Pretty sunset out there.
that's super nice.
Yeah.
This is a really nice building. I'm super excited for you guys to be out in this area, a little closer to our Yukon location.
Heck yeah.
Pumped for you guys to be expanding and doing another location. You guys are, I commented this on your post, but I will say it again. You guys are the most, out of anybody that has owned a single location business, you are the most prepared to expand into a second location that I have ever known by a long shot.
Wow.
So
Thank you.
I am
Thanks.
really
Hope so,
excited
yeah.
to see how you guys do out here. I know you're going to crush it. I know it'll come with some challenges, and you guys will learn, and you'll get better for it. And you're throwing a baby in the mix of all of that, which is that's how I like things too. Is like when things get hectic, like I almost get this, I don't know,
Just get a little more excited.
It's an extra gear.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you almost want to make things more hectic. Like you almost like you when things are challenging, it's like all right, what would make this more challenging?
Yeah. You're like, might as well.
There's a weird
Might as well.
Add to it.
Already working. Might as well just work a little harder.
maybe a little bit of masochistic of me, but
Oof, yeah.
little bit of what?
Speaking of the therapist, there is something to be said. Like if we're not incurring any kind of like pain that we feel weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Says something.
It's okay.
Yeah.
We're not going to go down that whole time.
no, I'm not going to try and fight that. I'm not trying to like cure myself of that or anything. So I really like that about myself, honestly. So
I like that I like to seek pain.
maybe just a little, just a little bit. Yeah. Listen, let me know if it becomes a problem.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Well,
thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much
for the podcast. First time in the studio.
I know.
And,
Broke in the studio tonight.
Also, for anybody listening, especially our Yukon customers, what is the best way for them to come check you out?
Well, currently the best thing to do is get on the website and get on the founding members email list. There's a little ticker across the top of the website, and that's going to put you in the track for the emails for people that we're communicating with everything that's happening here. So when the VIP sessions are going, when the one-on-ones, when the consults are going, our hard open dates, our soft open dates, like everything's going to come through that email channel. So get on that list. That's definitely the best way. From there, there'll be scheduler like prompts. There'll be all sorts of things you can do from there, direct text messages. So all communications through that website, through that link.
Yeah.
And then that's the best way because you'll be on top of everything we're doing and
So
we'll
it's
just be cranking.
prevailstrengthandfitness.com.
Pretty simple. prevailstrengthandfitness.com.
Yeah.
Top of this page.
Yeah. If you guys are in the Yukon area, Piedmont area, North OKC area, or even over in the Edmond area by their first location, definitely come check them out. They run a very, very well run class style fitness. And if you would like to know more about it, do you guys remember the first episode that you were on?
I remember doing
The number that it was?
Oh, goodness. 190.
Oh, you're
I
making
don't know. I'm
that
gonna say
up. He's
numbers.
making that up.
It's somewhere deep in there.
Well, this is episode 68, so it's not in the 90s.
Maybe it was like 47 or 57.
But yeah, it would be hard to fit it into just a little blip of what you guys do, but you do an amazing job. So super excited for you guys to provide that to more people of the Oklahoma City area. So I know you guys got probably a lot more to do just tonight, so I will let you get to it.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks so much. And
thank you.
Thomas, hope your shitter's okay.
I know. And I'm excited for Edmund.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
We'll get more.
Hopefully we'll join you the next year.
Yeah, we'll be
way over there
for you guys.
Yeah,
for sure.
We'll spread the word. Yeah, we'll do another episode when you guys get out there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. This is episode 68. See you guys.
Bye.